Hi y'all, Justin with Kayak Catfish. Well, it is dreary out here and boy, it's cold as a dickens. By gosh, I'm in the mood to catch a fish today, and I hope you are too, because we've got to get after them. I'm gonna do some catfishing today, and I'm gonna bring y'all with me, unedited, raw and uncut. Y'all gonna see everything from the time I drop baits till the time we're done fishing today. So we're gonna try a couple different maybe 3 different techniques out here. The main one, and this is what I'm expecting we're gonna catch a fish on, is we're gonna be dragging some pieces of cut bait behind me as I make my way up a ledge. But I've got a different rig here I'm gonna try out. We're gonna drag it behind us too, much higher in the water column. Probably completely stupid. We probably won't catch a jaggone thing on it, but we're gonna throw it out there and see what happens. You never know until you try some things, folks. So we're gonna try something today. Then also, I have another rod behind me here with an artificial bait, a jig, and I'm gonna have the live scope on as we make our way up this ledge. And if we start seeing some fish higher up in the water column, we'll toss that jig out there and see if we can hit them. I'm less optimistic. My mouth is cold. I can't get my words out of practice on this YouTube crap. I was trying to say, I'm less optimistic that we're gonna catch much on that artificial jig today, just with water temperatures where they are and the fact that we're gonna be going into some current. It's gonna be hard to, even if we see fish, it's gonna be hard to get that jig in front of them, factoring in the current and all that. But anyway, enough of this. We gotta get some baits down there, y'all. Come with me today, y'all. We're going on a real fishing trip here. So first off, let me show you my fancy rig here. So we got a balloon up top, right? A few feet below that, I've got my leader, which I've got a fly here. I've got another fly a couple feet below that. And lastly, down here on the bottom, I've got a 1 ounce jig with just a sliver of a fillet of a piece of cut bait, just to try to put off a little scent there, right? So we're gonna have this behind us here, and we're gonna let out some line. And so that rig, as we pull it along, it's gonna be a few feet down between the flies and that 1 ounce jig there on bottom. We're gonna be covering some different depths in the water column, but everything is gonna be higher up than what we're going to be with our cut bait. We're going to be dragging bottom with our cut bait. So I'm just going to let out a little line here, get that behind us. We don't need it really far behind us, but I want it back there, I don't know, 100 feet or so, 30 yards maybe. And we're just going to pull it along today and see. This may be the dumbest thing I've ever done, but you know what? When I go skipjack fishing, I'm throwing basically that rig, just smaller, using crappie jigs. I catch a lot of crappie and white bass and yellow bass and other stuff. Similar setup, just downsized version. I've caught a bunch of catfish now on artificial baits with a live scope, higher up in the water column. So in theory, why the heck can't we get some fish up here in higher up in the water column, right? So again, I don't know, maybe stupid, but we're gonna put this back here. We'll have that going behind us there, so you can see maybe back there that balloon bounce around. We're gonna have it back there as we move along. Now our other baits here, I've got some skipjack that I caught this morning. I've got a head bait on this rod, I got a chunk on the other. So this is my dragon rig. These sinkers, I make these. If you want to learn how, they're simple, easy, cheap to make. There's a link down in the video description. But I've got that on a 3-way down to a piece of 80-pound monofilament leader, float, rattle, down to our 10-aught size hook with the bait. I'm gonna give this a toss here behind us. We'll let out some line on it. And while that one's headed down to the bottom, let's get this one out. Same setup as far as the rig, just got a chunk of cut bait on this one. Go ahead and a chunk for now. Now let's let out some line there. So now we've done all that. I'm gonna get on the move. So right now I'm spot locked Current's coming this way. The wind is coming this way. We're going to go into the current and the wind, and we're going to work up this ledge here. I'll show you on the graph what we're going to do. This right here, you see where these lines come together real tight? That's signifying a rapid change in depth. That's where this ledge over here beside us comes up real sharp. We're going to work the bottom edge of this ledge, and we're going to do it all the way up through here. My plan is to fish for the next 3 to 4 hours, and we're just going to cover this ledge all the way up, kind of working around this bend. This area of the river here, it makes a big river bend, a big wide bend, and so we're just going to cover this outside edge, bottom edge of the channel here, move along maybe 0.4, 0.5 miles an hour against the current. See if we can't run into some fish today. So that's the plan. Let me come off spot lock here. We'll get our speed set. We're gonna kick back, and I'm gonna try to keep warm. Hopefully y'all fortunate. You know, every time y'all come fishing with me, y'all get to stay in a warm house, you know, warm car, wherever you're watching this crap at. You're warm, you're dry. I think I'm gonna stay dry out here today, although it looks like it could rain any time. But the temperature, I ain't got no thermostat outside here, so it's gonna be cold. I feel like my mouth's already freezing up. Some of y'all probably wouldn't mind that. Yeah, we're gonna play with our speed here till we get it kind of dialed in, and then we'll fix our lines here, make sure they're on bottom. We're gonna have to keep an eye on things, because as we're moving into the current, it has a tendency to want to bring that sinker and the float and bait, everything up off the bottom. We want it on bottom, so we may have to fish with a little bit more line out than what I would typically do on a normal day today, just because of that. They are moving some water through here. At the hydroelectric dams here on the Tennessee River, they've been moving all that water we got from the snow runoff and the rain. We got quite a bit of rain after the snow came through East Tennessee, so they've been having to work that through the river system, and well, it's gave us a little bit more current out here, so we'll get it dialed in though. Tell you actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the north heading, and I'm gonna turn our speed control on, and that'll help us dial it in, because this wind, if we don't use this speed cruise control setting here on the motor, every time this wind gusts, it's going to slow us down a little bit. And so we're gonna let the motor work for us. That's what it's paid to do, by gosh. Spend all that money on a dang motor with GPS functions. Let's use them GPS functions, right? I'm glad y'all coming fishing with me today. It's been a while. The whole month of January here has been just... Are we still in January now? I don't even know what today is. Let's see what today is. Today's 31st, so we're still in January. But this whole month has pretty much been a dud for me. I have been just stuck at the house for most of the month. A lot of y'all have been too, between the polar vortex that come through and dropped all that snow and ice on us. I was completely trapped at my house for a full week when it come through. Then we had all that rain afterwards. We've had a lot of days with high wind. It's just been a nasty weather month, and it's been a... Y'all let me forget to turn them bells over. Hell, ain't no telling how much line we got behind us there. But it's just been one of them months, and so thankful that it happened in the winter. If I'm going to take some time off from fishing, I'd much rather it be in the winter time than in the summertime. But nevertheless, I've got the cabin fever pretty bad, y'all. It's been a chore. I like being home, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of a homebody. But there's limits on it, you know. And I tell you, when I was trapped at the house when a polar vortex weather system come through. I mean, I was cabin fever about twice a day. I'd go outside. I mean, I'd bundle up like a Michelin man, because when we had temperatures single digits. Sometimes we had wind chills below zero. And so I'd bundle up like a Michelin man and just try to slog my way through the snow, trying to walk through the yard just to get outside. Poor Daphne, and my dog, you know, she's still got that puppy stage in her, and she was struggling with it too, because she liked the snow pretty well when it was coming down. But once it got so deep that she couldn't really run through it anymore, she kind of had to hop she looked like a dang rabbit hopping along through there. She didn't really enjoy it as much. And me and her, we like playing ball and playing frisbee and stuff, and the snow, the snow was so deep it covered up all her toys out there. We couldn't even find a toy to play with in the yard, so she was pretty much confined to the house most of the week too. And it was just it was something. We don't usually get snow like that where I live here in East Tennessee. We maybe twice a year we'll get a little snow, like a dusting, maybe an inch or two, and it'll last a day or two, and it's gone. And usually once every few years we'll get like a little bit more snow, like a 3 to 5 inch type snow, and it'll last 2 or 3 days, and then it's gone. But this time we had over 8 inches at my house, and that's the most snow we've had at my house since I moved into that house. And I bought that place in 2006, so pretty good while. I mean, it was a big snow for our area. I think it's probably, just trying to think back through my whole life, I think it's probably the most snow we've had since the blizzard of 93. Now, I was a kid in 93. I guess I'd have been almost 11. I was about to turn 11, I think, when the blizzard hit. And that was an actual blizzard. Like, we got a lot of snow then. Now, I can remember my grandma lived next to us when I was a kid. She had property next door. And of course, you know, I mean, I was 10, 11 years old. I was a lot shorter back then than what I am now. But I can remember walking to her house in that blizzard and being up to my waist in snow. So that was definitely the most snow we've ever had here in East Tennessee, in my lifetime anyway. But this snow we had here during this polar vortex, buddy, it shut everything down in my area. The city and the county wasn't prepared. They hadn't treated, my road never got treated at all. My road it didn't get salted, it didn't get brined, it never got scraped. I mean, it was just a solid sheet of ice. And so I couldn't go anywhere. I did walk to the grocery store one day. I got a grocery store about a mile from my house, and I walked to it, and it was treacherous. But that was the only time I got out. Thankfully, never lost power during that. I remember in the blizzard when I was a kid, we lost power for a full week when I was a kid there, and we had kerosene heaters heating up the house best we could, and we was having to melt snow to be able to flush toilets. It was a lot worse back then than what I dealt with this time. I was fine during this storm. I was just bored. I don't know how I function. I was trying to think back when I was a kid there in the blizzard. You know, obviously we didn't have power. I had a Nintendo as a kid, but we didn't have power. I couldn't play it. I was like trying to think back to what was it I did to entertain myself during the blizzard. I know I spent a lot of time outside sledding and stuff, building snowman and whatnot, but like, what did I do after dark till it was time to go to sleep. Like, I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. You know, I used to love playing with toys when I was a kid. I had G.I. Joes and Ninja Turtles and all that. But we didn't have any power. We didn't have any lights. So I doubt I was playing with them. I don't know what I did. And it's amazing to think that we've got all this technology today, social media, TV sets, YouTube, Netflix, have all that stuff at my disposal that I'm stuck at home with, and still I was just bored out of my mind. I just wanted to go somewhere outside that was warm. That's all I wanted. So yeah, so anyway, y'all, survived the cold. Snow melted off, then we got a bunch of rain. And now I'm just out here trying to find a fish. You seeing that screen right there, it's just the Dead Sea from what it looks like. I ain't seeing nothing. So we're just gonna have to cover water today. That's why I wanted to do this dragging, this trolling here, just to try to run into some fish, because I have no idea really what's going on, where they're going to be. We're just out here looking today. So for any of y'all that's coming with me, better pack your lunch, because we're gonna be searching a little while here. This probably, just full disclosure, for those of you coming with me for the full ride today, 3-4 hours, however long we're out here, this probably ain't going to be just action-packed, non-stop fish catching. Today is probably going to be a little bit of a grind, unless we just get lucky and just stumble onto a school. It's probably going to be maybe a fish here, a fish there. It's not going to be it ain't going to be a 30 fish day, I don't believe, just FYI. So, but this fishing, you know, this style of video, it's a real fishing trip. This ain't a day where I'm going out here and going to film for 4 hours and catch a few fish and edit it down to a 15-minute video. You're going to see it, everything from the time here we've dropped baits in to any fish we catch, any snags I get, anything crazy happens. Y'all going to see it all. You're going to see the whole journey of today. So, for better or worse, those of you that choose to come along, we're going to get through it out here. We're going to stay warm as we can. We're going to stay as positive as we can. And hopefully, maybe, if Mother Nature will allow, we might catch a fish or two. There's something on the screen there under us, I think. I don't know. I've got that. I may need to set this back a little bit. I think I got that on 100 foot out. Let's bring it back to like 60. Yeah, I think that's a fish there on bottom right there. He's dang near under us. Our baits will be pulling to him in a little while. We'll see if he'll bite. But what we want to do, again, we want to work the edge here. We want to work the edge of this channel all the way around this bend. You know, 0.4, 0.5 miles an hour. You know, you do the math on it, and let's say you're going half a mile an hour for 4 hours. You can cover 2 miles. So, you know, we'll be somewhere 1.5 miles-ish probably before it's said and done today. You cover enough water, you eventually will find some fish. Now, the big question for me coming out here was, did I want to fish shallow? Did I want to fish deep? And that was, honestly, I'm still in my head second guessing my decision to come out here. I've just not been on the water lately. I don't know what's up with fish. I don't know where they're at, what they're doing. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. If we'd fish shallow, working a creek or something, then I'd be wondering, when we wasn't getting bit there, I'd be wondering what's going on out here in the channel. And we may get more bites in the creek, you know. That's the other part of it. It's like, what if you start shallow and you're getting some bites, but they're not good quality? Do you then pull up and leave and go hit the channel, or are you just like, well, there's fish here, I just keep grinding? You know, you play mind games with yourself. And so I was like, you know, I've got a lot of confidence in fishing deep structure, and so I figured I would do less second guessing if I just come on out to the channel. The other thing with coming out here is the wind direction. By coming on out here, the way that we're going to follow this contour here, we're kind of going to be going into the wind with the direction it's blowing, and that makes it a lot easier to control our speed and do what we want to do, versus, let's say we were back in that creek there that I launched in. When the wind blows, it's going to kind of swirl through that creek there and hit you from different angles and stuff. And so boat control is just easier when you've got when you can just go consistently into the wind. So again, for better or worse, by gosh, we in this together. we're going to grind out here today, folks. I am at least seeing some more life there, if nothing else. You know, are they cats? Some form of bait? Yeah, who knows? But it's good to see some life here as we move along. The other argument that could be made is, instead of fishing the bottom of this drop, to fish the top. That's something I don't do enough of. Usually if I'm working a ledge, I like to hit the bottom edge of it, just to, it's a percentage play. You know, statistically speaking, the fish are going to be on the bottom more than they're on the top, but the top edge is going to have your most active fish. So it's definitely a part of the ledges that I need to focus on more. I just don't, for whatever reason. But we'll give it some time here for sure. We'll see how we're doing. We may reevaluate after an hour or so. If we're just not seeing anything, we're not getting any bites, no taps, nothing, maybe we hit the top edge here or something. But we'll give it some time first. I'm just going to leave y'all in the chest. That seems to be on the other videos I have done, both the ultralight videos, and I've done 2 previous catfish videos that were unedited. The consensus seems to be y'all like the chest cam first person view versus sitting up there looking at my ugly face. So that's how we're going to leave you. So we're going to leave you here in the chest. Y'all can see that graph, hopefully. I got my dragging rods up front here, so we can keep an eye on them a little better, and that balloon rod going off the back there, and the back rod holders. The other unedited catfish videos I've done, I've dragged and suspended at the same time. I've had my dragging rods on the back rod holders and been suspending baits on these front 2 as they move along. That's not going to be possible out here today with us going into the current. Those suspended baits, I wouldn't be able to put enough lead on them to keep them vertical under us. So that's why we're focusing just on the dragon and that experimental rig there behind us that may or may not ever catch a fish. I don't see why it wouldn't, but it may not today. Today may not be the day for it. At some point though, we're liable to hook something on that. Because, you know, I mean, last year when I got on them big schools of shad and was using live scope to target individual fish with the jigs, if I got that bait in front of them, Hey, look right here. Look right here, buddy. I wonder if that's that fish we pulled by a little while ago that we went over the top of. It's on the head bait. He's pulling a little bit too, buddy. Where are we, 20-something minutes in this video? They probably ain't none of yous left watching at this point. I done bored yous to tears. They done clicked off the video by now. We got one on our head bait though. He feels pretty good, but we are moving into the current, so we're fighting a little bit more current and water resistance than what we normally would. So that's gonna make them all feel a little bigger, which honestly ain't the worst thing in the world. I mean, you want your fish, even if you either want them to be really big or fight really big. So not the worst thing in the world. Here's the other scenario too. Even though we're not seeing much on the graph right now, we still could be coming over some fish. They could be some kind of buried down in the mud a little bit, and we bring the sinker over them, kind of disturb them a little bit, stir up the mud a little bit, and oh, right behind that there's a piece of bait, an easy meal for them. That could be the case too, and so fish that we may not see could potentially be there. I'll be getting close to seeing this one now. I'm gonna let y'all land him here because I don't want to get my hands wet. They just now about dried off and warmed up from when I cut the bait. Come on over here, fish. Let's see what we got there. It's a blue. Yeah, he ain't very big. The current and us moving into it here has really helped him feel bigger. We added several pounds of fight to that fish, just pulling him against the flow there. Come here, fish. You're gonna give us that bait back too. I went out this morning and got us some bait fishing off the bank, but I'll still gladly take it back if you want to give it back to me there, fish. It ain't been out there long enough to be bled out. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. It still looks great. We'll throw that back out in a minute. Here, I'll tell you what, fish. You're fish number one. Let's set y'all up here. Let these people take a look at you. The 3 people that stuck with me for 20-something minutes here till we could get our first fish. The camera's crooked, fish. There he is, folks. A little dink. But we ain't skunked, by gosh. No skunk today. If you're seeing this, I promise you we didn't get skunked anyway. I ain't putting you through that 3-4 hours of watching me ramble on and not catching fish. Let's get the camera back here. Look at this. You can see he's got a little mud there on his side, on his back, down that side. Get on out here, buddy. Thank you for being fish number one. He gone. Hey, no skunk, y'all. That's fist pump worthy in itself. Hey, look right here. Hey, there goes that fish. You see him? He's on the screen right there. Pretty sure that was him. All this right here though, that's bait. We're finally getting up here. We're getting up here now with some more life. Our bait still looks good there. Let's stand up, throw that back there. We'll let out some more line. Don't y'all let me forget to flip that bail over now. Y'all gonna hear me sniffling a little bit on camera too. I apologize. It's just that's the way it's gonna be today, it being cold like this. I'm gonna slide us over a little bit. We're getting a little too close up at the edge there. Just want to work the edge of it. But yeah, all that I believe is probably shad. Yeah, we're getting into some bait. I'm inclined to believe we're gonna get into some fish here. All right. Well, folks, it took a little while, but we got the first one. This first one don't always happen, so hardest part's over with now. Yeah, I promise I wouldn't ever subject you to that. If I come out and I ain't catching fish, I ain't posting. I don't post a skunk video ever. But I for dang sure wouldn't post a 3-4 hour long skunk video. That's just inhumane. That's cruel and unusual punishment. I wouldn't do it to you. I like you too much. Now, what I am going to do to you is subject you to hearing me get the snot out my nose. The fish got me all snotty. Okay, we're good for a little while. Yeah, right here. See that on bottom there? It's probably cats. None of those didn't have any size to them, but they're under that school bait right there. That bait's about 35 feet deep. More than 46 right now. It's encouraging. Like I said, folks, you get on these ledges, you oftentimes have long stretches where there's just nothing happening. There's no fish there, and all of a sudden you get on some bait, you get on some fish. So if you cover water, you run into them. Or you can kind of set up in places that are, like for instance, out here in front of this creek, there's a creek that goes, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but it's back in there. So if you can find places like where those creeks originally ran out into the main channel before the reservoirs were made, you'll oftentimes find fish staged up kind of out from those creeks where they would have entered the main channel oftentimes. But ain't no telling what all we'll see today. We'll just keep moving along. It was interesting to get that small of a fish on the head bait. He obviously had a big appetite. I went and got those baits this morning. I had some in my cooler from a few days ago. I went out and got some bait, but I was like, I'm gonna just go get us some fresh before I come out here and film this unedited video, just try to increase our odds. And skipjack they've been easy to catch. I can get them from the bank right now and been real convenient. At least I know where they're at and where the cats are at in big concentration. I don't really know right now. It's gonna have to work on finding them. Some of those marks we see there at 30-35 feet, I mean, in theory I could take our jig and try to snipe them, but if we throw at any fish with the artificial rod today, I'd really like them to be about 15 feet or less, definitely no more than 20 feet deep, because when we're going to be tossing them jigs out, you got to play the current. The current, as soon as that jig hits the water, the current's going to start pushing it this way. And obviously it's just, the deeper they are, the harder it's going to be to get near them. So I'm not very confident that we're going to get a fish that's 30-35 feet down to eat that jig. Not sure I could even get in front of them to give them a chance to eat it. I'll tell you, speaking of eating though, the snowstorm has got me eating a lot better because I couldn't get out and eat fast food every day like I was known to do. I was kind of forced to fix stuff myself at the house. And I guess doing it for that full week there that I was snowed in, I think I almost got in a habit with it. I got in a routine with it. And so now I'm eating a lot healthier. And I don't even really have a desire. I got home last night, and I was on my way home last night, and I was like, normally I'd just stop off and get something, drive through. I say, I'm just going to fix something at the house there. I'm just going to fix something for myself. And it's really, I was kind of doing the math in my head, just after going to the grocery store and stuff, and I'm like, it's pretty cheap. I won't say it's cheap. It's cheaper to eat better quality food that you cook yourself than it is to just go get a cheap drive-through meal, because drive-throughs ain't cheap anymore. Used to, you go to McDonald's and you get that 2 cheeseburger meal, $4.99. And you go to drive-through anymore, I don't care what restaurant it is, it's $9.99, $10.99 for a hamburger and small fries and small drink. I can cook some steak and vegetables, or some ham and eggs, or a meat and sides. Basically, I can cook at the house for cheaper than what I can get drive-through. So I've been doing that. I get, and this is silly of me, but I finally went to Aldi. When I walked to the grocery store during the snowstorm, I walked to Aldi. And I had never been to an Aldi before. This Aldi in my town, it's been there for, hell, I don't know how many years it's been there, a long time. And I've never been there. I've refused to go because everybody wants me to go. People will talk, have you been to Aldi? Or you should go. Or, you got to put a quarter in the buggy thing. Or, everybody's got a story about Aldi. And it always ends up with, oh, you've never been to Aldi? Oh, you should go. And so that made me not want to go just because everybody wanted me to do it. So I never have. But during the snowstorm, I had to walk up there, and that's the one store I could get to. And I ended up buying some of their meat, some of their steaks. They've got them. They were in the back there, and they're in these vacuum sealed packages. And I took them home, cooked them. I'm like, well, that's actually pretty good meat. And I think because they were in them packages, vacuum sealed, that it seemed to last a little longer than the meat. I don't get meat at Walmart anyway. Walmart's definitely the worst meat, but even the local Ingles and Food City and stuff, that's just, they put a steak and they put that saran wrap around it basically on the styrofoam backing. That meat turns a little quicker than the Aldi meat, it seems like. So I'm getting my meat at Aldi now. Their vegetables are cheaper too if they're decent quality. They're some of the produce at Aldi was suspect, but definitely some stuff worth getting at Aldi. So they've turned me into a shopper now that I've been. So I'll be going back there. I'd like to eliminate Walmart completely from my grocery shop. I used to get all my groceries at Walmart, just for 2 reasons. 1, it's convenient, and 2, Walmart's the cheapest, especially on like your, what's the word I'm looking for, your processed foods, your chips, your cookies, the stuff that tastes good. Walmart's cheaper than a grocery store. Sometimes by $1 a bag or more on the chips. But I hate going to Walmart. Every time I go in there, I leave thinking, why did I do this to myself? And so I'd like to get away from it. So I think between Aldi and Ingles, because I notice Aldi has cheap chips and stuff. They're off-brand. But it doesn't matter to me because it's just chips. You don't really notice that much of a difference. It's not like trying to tell the difference between a Coca-Cola and a Sam's Cola. I mean, that's obviously a difference. Or Big K Cola from the Kmart days. You could tell a big difference in that, obviously. But Doritos versus nacho cheese tortilla chips, not that much difference. So now that y'all are caught up on my grocery expenditures, boy, if y'all hadn't clicked off the video before, let me talk about my grocery shopping habits. That'll get you going. But again, this is real world fishing, people. If y'all's out here sharing this boat or sharing this kayak with me, we'd be talking about me shopping at Aldi. Here comes the bass fisherman. I bet you he ain't caught a damn thing all day. This launch I used had a few boats in the parking lot. There were a few trailers. So there's some people out here today. I only saw one person back there in that creek. Looked like they was crappie fishing. I wouldn't mind doing me a little, any kind of ultralight. I don't care if it's crappie or whatever. I'd like to do some ultralight fishing. I've been missing it too. It's just so dang cold. Water temps low 40s. It's 42 according to that. Yeah, I think a lot of them fish are probably, they're either deep or they're in the creeks and they're all concentrated. You know, when I go ultralight fishing, I need action. Like, I need to be catching fish on the regular. Like, I can't. Catfishing, I can go long periods of time without getting a bite. Ultralight fishing, like, I need that constant action. Keep myself entertained. So I typically prefer doing it in warmer water where there's a lot more fish in the shallows. I wonder if pick up on this a second here. I just want to make sure that I feel that. Yeah, it's on bottom. Just want to make sure our sinker was on bottom there. Didn't want that thing to be pulling along 10 feet off the bottom. I may go ahead and let out a little bit more line on that though. We'd let out a lot more on that initial drop down before we caught that other fish. The sun's popping out behind the clouds. That'll help me feel a little warmer. Ain't it amazing? Like, you can have a super cold day. I noticed this during the polar vortex when I'd be outside bundled up like the Michelin Man, just trying to get out the house. On the cloudy days, it was just miserable cold. But on the sunny days, it was miserable cold, but you could feel the warmth on your face. And just feeling that sun on your skin made it feel warmer than it was. And right now I can feel that sun on my back. And it instantly feels a little warmer. I mean, I don't know about y'all. I'm over the cold. I'm ready for spring. We ain't got too much longer. February's a short month. Usually March in Tennessee can go either way. We can be cold, we can be warm. If it is warm, We usually have high winds, but I'm ready for a change in this cold, rainy weather. I've seen all the snow I care to see for a lifetime. The snow is pretty, but after a day, it's like, ugh, it's such a nightmare. And there was people in ditches and off the sides of the roads everywhere. You know, all them Yankees on the social media, they see my posts on there on the Instagram and the Facebook and stuff, and they want to chime in, talking about how just a normal Tuesday for them shuts down the entire southeastern United States. You know, like they better than somebody, but the fact is that's just the way it is down here. We don't have the means to be able to properly prepare. We probably do have the means, but the politicians would rather spend the money on themselves than on salt and road equipment and employees to use said equipment. So when it snows, and worse yet when it ices, the roads are just untreated. So they're just a solid sheet of ice. And obviously when it snows once a decade down here, that's really impacts travel. We obviously don't have any chains on our tires or anything else, so people end up in ditches because they're out when they shouldn't be out. Everybody's got to go to the grocery store, you know, get their milk and their bread. I've never in my life ate a milk sandwich, but apparently that's what these people do, because when you go to the store, the grocery store will have literally everything except milk and bread. The shelves are just bare in the bread aisle. The milk for refrigerator, empty, but they'll have everything else. Look right here. That's a better fish right there. Now he's up. He's about 40 feet. That's a better one there, mixed in with that shad. But yeah, all them people, they go into the store when they should have been staying home. You got people trying to get to work because their bosses are bad people, and they'll tell them they need to come in regardless. And so they go trying to get to work and end up in the road, and they're off the road. Wreckers trying to pull them out. Some of the wreckers, they get off the road, get stuck. We had some marinas in our area too that caved in. I guess the weight of the snow caved in the roofs, which I thought was a little weird. I mean, the Lenore City Marina went down, and it was like an aluminum structure. I mean, it had a aluminum frame and roof on it and whatnot, and I would have thought it would have been stronger than that, but the whole 200-300 foot long marina just went down. So all them Vol Navy people I hate, I guess they filing insurance claims. They getting them brand new boats for the next football season. And people got them houseboats way too big for the river, but some of them was under that marina and it went down. I went over there and looked at it once I could get out. It was still snow on the ground, but I was able to get out. I took Daphne over there, let her walk around and stuff. And that first day I was able to drive again after a week of being stuck in the house. I can't tell you just how it was almost a feeling of liberation, of freedom, to be able to just get out and drive. It was amazing. I imagine it's similar to a convict getting out of prison or something. I mean, obviously they're going to be feeling more more liberated, I guess, getting out of prison. But, you know, same concept. When you've been trapped somewhere and you finally get the freedom to leave, it was an amazing feeling. Now we back to the normal grind now. Got through the weather, got through the seminar thing I had committed to. I went up to the Hoover Fishing Seminar in Ohio there last weekend. I had committed to doing that, just helping Ryan and Kayak Mike with some seminar stuff on kayak catfishing. That was it was a pretty good thing. They raised a bunch of money for the local youth fishing organizations there at the local schools, so that was good for them. A charitable event and all, but I just think much on talking in front of people. Like, I can get on this camera and talk and potentially reach thousands of people. Right here, we got another fish. This fish says he wants me to talk to him. My gosh, it's another one on the head bait too. 2 on the head, the chunk ain't been touched. This is another one that feels like he's pulling hard, but we're pulling against the current, so who knows? It really don't matter to me today, honestly, what size the fish we get. I've been wanting to catch a fish so bad, it don't matter. Just happy to get a bite. Well, now we don't want no channel cats, so I don't want to get a bite from them. Anything else though? Get this one up here. We'll take a look at this bait. I may switch it out. Definitely want to, with only fishing 2 cut bait rods, I want to keep the baits fairly fresh today. I want to keep them fresh anyway, but especially with them, these fish now, 2 fish on the head. Could be that it's a head bait versus chunk thing, or it could be that this bait's closer to the edge of the ledge over here too. It's just in better position. Either way, we're gonna make it count today, by gosh. If they want head baits, we give them head baits. If we catch every fish on this side of the kayak, that's fine by me too. I just want to reel them in. Come on up here, fish. I think we're getting close. What we at on time here? Well, hey, 2 fish in less than an hour. All right, he's gonna give us the head bait back. He's about the same size as that other one. This one here probably ain't gonna get no front camera time though. That other one, he wasn't big enough to get front camera time either, but he was the first one, and it's been a while, so he got some special treatment. This one here, he ain't getting that lucky. Come here, fish. Don't get me all wet either now. He says he don't take orders from me. He wants to know who I think I am telling him what to do. All right. Well, we got our head. Man, that head still looks pretty good. I may switch it out anyway, though. Let's hold you out here. Let's put you in the light at least. I mean, that's a larger dink right there. You felt bigger anyway and pulling against that current, didn't you, fish? He says he'll get big someday and he'll show me. He gone. Okay, let me dry my hand here a second. I think I'm gonna cut another bait, y'all. Just that bait still looks okay. I mean, if we were fishing 4 rods, I would totally just reuse that thing. But since we're just got 2 rods and we're I just feel better about having another one on. I got plenty, so might as well use them. I think this one here is a little bigger head than the other one. Good and fresh. Still got the leaves and dirt all over them. Goodness gracious. There we go. I'll cut that thing. All right. So these dragon rigs, a lot of people, I think, they hear dragging and they think it's your bait that's dragging on bottom. And that's not actually the case. Your sinker is dragging on bottom, but the bait is floated up behind the rig, just off bottom. And, well, I've got that dang thing. There we go. This float and rattle here floats your bait up, right? And so floats here, your bait's kind of dangling below. If you adjust this float up your line, the more you adjust your float up, your hook down here is going to fall down with the bait. So you can lower the bait down toward the bottom more with moving the float higher up, or you can float it higher if you move it closer to the hook. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. If you're in a real snaggy area, well, it's best to kind of keep the float closer to the hook, kind of float that bait a little higher, right? Because you don't want to be down in the snags with this exposed hook. If you're in a smoother bottom area, you can run the bait closer to the bottom. It's all in what you want to do. I typically keep mine a few inches there, 3-4 inches above the hook. It's just one of them things that if you go on a drag bait, you just tinker with. You figure out what works for you on, individual situations. There's no right or wrong, really. Good, now we got our hands all cold from being wet again. We needed that. These fish, they're apparently going to bite about every 25-30 minutes. Just when I get my hands dry and start to get them warm, that's when we're going to get bit. But at least we're getting bit. I don't even remember what I was talking about in that fish head now. It was probably something very enlightening, but I don't remember what it was. The fish broke my train of thought. Still nothing on our balloon back there. It may not get hit. That balloon, with the baits being higher up, the shad that we're seeing here on the screen, they started about the 35-foot mark. We ain't seeing nothing up here. In our fancy new rig error, it's going to be a top 10 foot of the water column, so we may not catch anything. Today may not be the day that rig gets eaten, but someday, maybe, just maybe, we're going to get a bite on it. I'm going to keep playing with it. Boy, my hands got cold when they got wet, y'all. I was doing real good till I went to wash them off. What do you think? You think it's about done right there? You think that's enough? Oh, I know what I was talking about. I was talking about that dang seminar I did. up there in Ohio. So anyway, my thoughts on that kind of stuff is that I can talk to potentially thousands of people through this camera and be just fine with it. But standing up in front of actual people, like in person, well, that's a little nerve-wracking. And they say, there's an old saying that if you're nervous, if you got to talk in front of people and you're nervous, you're supposed to picture them in their underwear. I don't know who came up with that, but they obviously had a better looking audience than a catfishing crowd, because the last thing you want to do when you're talking in front of a group of catfishermen is imagine them in their underwear. That just, I mean, yeah, you don't want to be puking up there in front of the audience. So yeah, terrible advice for whoever come up with that. But we got through the seminar. It was something. This is the first time I'd done something like that. I think the people that came there to see me, I think I was able to interact with most of them and do pictures and shake hands and, you know, all that stuff that people wanted to do. So fortunately there was time, like in between the seminars and afterwards and stuff, people was able to come up and chat and whatnot. So I'm hoping everybody had a good time that went to it. They did like a little woodworking thing. They made us all a plaque for the people that presented in the show. I guess they had like a woodworking class there in the school, and they had made us all little, you know, plaque things, woodworking engraved plaques, and that was pretty nice. They misspelled my name. Everybody does. I've got old baseball trophies, I'm sure, at my parents' house with misspelled name, but that's the way it goes. But it's nice of them nonetheless. I just drove up there that one day, and well, I drove up the night before, spent the night, and then did the show and then come home. Stopped off at Buc-ee's in, I'm trying to think the name of the town. I think it's Richmond, Kentucky, maybe. Richmond or Richland. It's one of them. Anyway, it's going up 75 there. It is just perfectly in the middle between my house and Columbus, Ohio. So it's a perfect place to stop and get gas. And so I go in there and I get me one of their Texas cheesesteak burritos and some of their chocolate covered almonds. Gotta stop at Buc-ee's. You on a road trip, you gotta stop at Buc-ee's. I mean, that's just obligatory stop. So I did that, but I just made it a up and down trip. I had my kayak with me for the seminars. They had wanted us to bring our kayaks to kind of go over stuff, and I didn't take this kayak. I took my Old Town kayak because Mike and Ryan had their kayaks there, and theirs are fully rigged out like this one. I mean, they got the motor and the lithium batteries and the live scope, and Ryan's got a big rod rack on his, and because he pulls planer boards all the time stuff. And I'm like, you know, there's probably people that's attending this show that's interested in kayak catfishing or just brand new, you know, never been in a kayak before. And I don't know that they're necessarily going to want to jump into the sport and immediately get into something like this, you know. So I took the Old Town kayak that I fish out of, what I call my bare bones setup, just a couple rod holders on it and a dumbbell anchor is usually what I use when I'm in it. And I took that up there to kind of show people that you you don't have to have all the fancy gadgets and motors and batteries and graphs and all that. You can go out and catch fish on a minimal setup. And so hopefully that was beneficial to people. You know, you see this stuff on my channel now, these videos, especially the last few years since I've been doing YouTube on a full-time basis, and I'm in this kayak a lot, but by doing this full-time, I want every advantage I can get, every tool in the tool belt. I want it, because if it helps me make 1 extra video, 2 extra videos a year, it's worth it to have when I depend on it to keep the lights on, you know. But unfortunately, it kind of, I think maybe it kind of alienates a lot of people who are new to the sport, that maybe they just want to kind of put their foot in the water before they just cannonball into the middle of the pool. They just want to kind of try it out, see if it's for them, and putting all these accessories and all that on there, it really jacks up the price. And so I think it's good to kind of show people that you don't have to have all that stuff. I mean, I had my first, it wasn't my first kayak. The first one I got was a cheap Field and Stream Eagle Claw, Eagle Talon, something like that. So I can't remember the name. It was a sit inside kayak. That was the first one I ever bought. Dick's Sporting Goods, got it on sale, and it was awful. It was uncomfortable, it was unstable, it was poor quality. I'd made a mistake, but I did what people do. I went to the store and I thought, well, that one looks cool, I'm gonna get that one. And it was on sale. I'm like, I'm getting a good deal. You get on the water and you're like, oh, this sucks, man. Back's hurting, my butt's hurting, I don't have any space, feel like I'm gonna flip. This wasn't fun. Thankfully though, I caught some fish in that thing, and I was into kayak fishing enough that I was willing to buy a better quality kayak before I just quit on it. And so I bought a 2007 model Native Ultimate, the 14.5 foot version. And I paid a little more for it. The one I got at Dick's, I think it was $300 and something maybe on sale, I think, at the time. And granted, this was years ago. I don't know what they run there now. But the Native Ultimate I bought it for, I think it was $700 used. And it was so much better. I mean, just everything about it was better than the cheap one I'd got there at Dick's. I mean, it was more comfortable, it was more stable, better quality, had more room. I mean, it was just such a better experience fishing wise to be in that kayak versus the cheap one. And that was what really allowed me to just, to fall in love with kayak catfishing, to really enjoy my time out on the water with it. And so I fished out of that kayak though for, I think, close to 6 years. I was in that kayak, and I didn't have any motor. It didn't have any pedals. I paddled. And, that obviously it limited my range by doing that. I couldn't go out in the type of wind or the type of current that I can go out in now. But I still caught a lot of fish, and just basic setup. I mean, I'd created a dashboard basically on it. I put a wooden board, like a 1x6, laid it across the rails and bolted it in and mounted my rod holders to it. And I caught a lot of fish in that thing. Did that for a long time. And then I had a friend I was fishing with some, and he got a Hobie kayak. He got a Hobie Pro Angler. And I had looked at the Hobies before, but they were so expensive. And I'm like, I'm pretty happy with what I got. I wasn't trying to keep up with the Joneses just to keep up with them, because hell, I don't even like the Joneses. I've never met a Jones in my life that I like. So what do I care about keeping up with them? I'm good with what I had. But my friend, he got a Hobie, and one day we were headed back to the car. We'd been out there fishing. We'd drifted a section of the river all the way down, and we were making our way back, and the wind had picked up a little bit, and it wasn't bad, but between the wind and the current, I couldn't stop paddling, or else I was going to be going backwards. So, I'm paddling along and, making my way, and I glance over at my friend, and he's sitting there. He's just on his phone. He's pedaling along, just there playing on his phone. I'm like, I said some cuss words to him. I was like, I gotta get me one of them dang Hobies. So I did. And so that was the end of my paddling days when I got a Hobie Outback. I bought it used, and I fished out of it for a while. It was a good kayak as far as being fun. It was a little bit lower to the water than this one, and it was just, I've got a lot of videos on my channel with me and that kayak. It was a lot of fun. The pedals expanded my range so much from having a paddle, and I was able to fish in higher winds and faster current and stuff like that. And so it really opened up more opportunities for me. But the pedaling, my body just didn't like. I pedaled that thing for, I don't remember how long I pedaled it before I put a motor on it, but I gave myself, I kept having problems with sciatica. I'd be pedaling and my butt would start to go numb, and I get that tingling down my leg, and I was young and stupid. I just pushed through it, And once I'd get out of the kayak, at the end of the day, I'd feel better. I'd wake up the next day and be fine. And one day I didn't feel fine. I was still hurting the next day. But I had to fish, and so I went back out, and I pushed through it. And man, when I done that was it for me. I ended up getting piriformis syndrome from pedaling that damn kayak too much. Because, I was putting, depending on the week, I'd put 100 miles, 50 to 100 miles pedaling. And I just overdone it. I overworked the piriformis muscle, which is a small muscle in your butt that goes right over the top of the sciatic nerve. And so when you overwork that piriformis muscle, it becomes irritated and inflamed, which then puts pressure on the sciatic nerve, which causes you to have just awful sciatic pain. And the more the sciatic nerve gets irritated, the more it irritates the piriformis muscle itself. So they're constantly working against each other, and it takes forever to recuperate from. They say 6 months to a year on average. It took me like 6 to 8 months before I was back to normal after that. And once I did, I was like, you know what? I just don't need to be pedaling this thing much. So that's when I added the motor to that kayak, and I ended up switching to this one, and then I got that autopilot from Old Town and stuff. So my body, just for whatever reason, just rejected the Hobie pedaling motion. The bicycle motion, like my Old Town pedal kayak that I have, like the bicycle round and round motion, I can do that all day and be fine. I'll be tired. My back, legs, will be a little tired at the end of the day. But I don't have any discomfort with it. But the Hobie pedaling motion, that stepping motion, my body just rejects it. I can't do it. And I'm the exact opposite of pretty much everybody I know. I've met one other person who said that he had the same problem with the Hobie pedal drives. Like it gave him sciatica too, and he finally had to sell his. And I can't remember what he bought. He got something with the bicycle style pedals, and everybody else I know loves the Hobie pedaling motion. And the Hobie, I mean, I like the Hobie pedal drive itself. Just the motion, just my body just rejected it. But the pedal drives, I mean, that stepping motion with them fins, there's a lot of advantages. The pedal drives are lighter. They're better in current. They're better in weeds. You can go in shallower water with the Hobie pedal drive because you can put them fins kind of up under the hole and kind of flutter kick them to be able to get out in shallow water. A lot of advantages to those. But I just can't do it for very long without just being in miserable pain. And I for damn sure don't want to ever have piriformis syndrome again. I mean, that was just brutal. I mean, years ago, I had a car wreck and I broke my hip and pelvis and messed myself up real bad. I mean, I'm the bionic man from the waist down. I've got all kinds of metal in me. Plates, screws. They put me back together. The rehab from the surgery of being put back together took less time than it took me to get over piriformis syndrome. So I don't want to fool with that again. So if you're thinking about getting a kayak out there and you're thinking about pedals, I definitely recommend trying them out before you buy them. Try the Hobie kind, try the Old Town bicycle kind, see which feels better for you and your body. There's advantages to the bicycle style too. I mean, it's a more comfortable motion, obviously, for me. But the other nice advantage of the bicycle style is you've got instant reverse. So when I'm ultralight fishing and I'm working around the shoreline and trees and brush and docks and stuff like that, it's nice to be able to instantly back up if I need to. Whereas the Hobie can't do that. You've either got to pull a cord to be able to flip the fins backwards if you got the 180 drive, or I had the regular drive, so I'd have to like pick it up, put it back down, pedal backwards that way. Hobie does have the new 360 drive. Well, I say new, they've had it for 2 or 3 years now, but it's mostly garbage. They've had everybody I know that has had the Hobie 360 drive has busted it to pieces, like been pedaling down the river and the thing just fall apart, bearings fall out, belts break. I mean, it's just junk. And it's damn near $6,000 for the kayak and the 360 drive. And you ain't even added accessories to your kayak yet, and you're already $6,000 in. I mean, it's ridiculous. So yeah, but the pedal drive, the bicycle style, you've got instant reverse, which is nice, but you got to have a little depth to be able to run it, because you can't make it closer to the hole, and grass and leaves will eat up the prop. And it's not as fast in current, I don't think, than the Hobie turbo fins. So there's trade-offs. I mean, there's pros and cons and trade-offs to each depending on what you have. The best way to figure that out is to go to these demo days. These dealers, most kayak dealers, they're reputable. They'll have demo days in the spring and summer months where you can go to a local body of water. They'll be set up and you can try them out, different models, different brands, and you can hop in there and try them out. And most tournaments too, you show up and there'll be fishermen there in all different models of kayaks, and if you see one that catches your eye, most of the time people in the kayak fishing community is pretty good people. They'll let you hop in there and try it out and see what you think about it before you go spending money on something that you may not necessarily like or be comfortable in. At some point, I think I mentioned this, and I can't remember. It was one of these videos I mentioned it in. I'm going to be Probably switching out of this kayak into something else. I just don't know what. I like this kayak okay, but we're at that age now. This one's 7 years old now, and it's still functional, but I've added plastic to the front keel because I'd wore it thin from hitting so many concrete boat ramps. My skeg line is broke. The line's broke and one of the pulleys has fallen off, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to fix it. I've looked at the diagram on the Hobie website. It's might as well be reading Chinese. I can't figure it out. Can't find any good videos online of somebody who's broken theirs and replaced it. So my skeg is just permanently down in this thing now. I mean, it's just down. I can't raise it. I can take it completely off. I can unscrew it and take it off from the kayak, but I like the skeg. I like being able to use it. I just wish I could be able to raise it. So at some point in the next year or so, I'm going to be moving on from this kayak. But there's just nothing out that I've just been like, I gotta have that. You know, there's just nothing like that out there. There are kayaks that I like features of, but I don't necessarily like the whole shebang. Best I could describe. Like, you know, the Hobie here, for instance. I like the fact it's got a skeg. I like the fact it's got a rudder. It's got a nice weight capacity. I've got all this floor space here when I catch big fish. But I don't like how that front hatch sits. And when I get out in choppy water, I get, especially having the weight of the motor up there, I plow through some waves. The water makes its way inside that hatch, and you end up getting a lot of water in the hull sloshing around. Makes it unstable when you get a few gallons in there. So I'd like to have a kayak I didn't have to worry about that. But when you look around, the models available that have the weight capacity to put on a motor and carry your batteries and all the weight you carry as a catfisherman with yourself and your bait cooler and yada yada yada. Very limited number of kayaks that can do all that. And the new canoe is one option. There's the Frontier and the Unlimited, but I've had just a bad experience with new canoe in the past that I just can't get over. So that's hard for me to wrap my mind around trying one of them, and they've had a lot of quality control problems with their kayaks. I mean, the internet's full of people complaining about warped hulls, cracked hulls, just inconsistency with their molds, with the thickness of the plastic. I mean, it's hit or miss whether or not you're going to get a quality kayak from New Canoe. The Frontier model has a hatch on it, and so it's notorious for filling up with water when you get water over the bow. So I'd be in the same situation with it as what I would be with this one. Now, their Unlimited model doesn't have that front hatch, and it's got more drainage, and that seems to be what most of the catfishermen I know that have new canoes have gone with. And most of them have positive things to say about it. It's just, yeah, it's just, you know, my history with that company isn't good. What's going on over here? I felt like my rod tip was just like it's vibrating over there. Look at that. What is that? What's causing that? That was weird. I don't know what was causing that. But I mean, y'all seen that. I mean, crazy, Emma. The rod tip was just, it wasn't a fish. It was just like it was vibrating. Maybe it's just the wind blowing on it or something. I don't know. I'm going crazy, I guess. But anyway, that's the new canoe option. Some of the other guys, Ryan, for instance, he's got that Jackson Take 2, which is technically a tandem kayak, but you take out one of the seats and you move the other one to the center of the kayak, and now you've got all this just open floor space, basically. And it certainly has the weight capacity and the space to put anything you want on it, but the problem with that kayak is you have to DIY everything because it's not really set up for catfishing. It's made to be like a tandem recreational kayak. So if you want a 360 seat, you got to DIY it. You want to put your rod rack on there, DIY it. You want to mount a motor to the front of it, they don't even have mounting plates made for them. You gotta buy a mounting plate for a different kayak and modify it. I mean, it's just one modification after another, and I just want something that I can just buy it and go fishing out of it. I don't want to have to do a bunch of DIY stuff. The other problem with that particular kayak is you don't have a rudder on it, and they don't make a rudder for it. Again, unless you DIY it. The new canoe, at least, they have a rudder. It's $400. It's an expensive accessory, but you can at least add on a rudder to a new canoe. But that Jackson Take 2, just out of luck. And so most of the people that I know that either have the new canoe or the Jackson, they steer with their remotes on the motor. I don't like doing that. I like to just put my motor like it is now, face it forward, and if I'm trolling for bait or something, I mean, right now we're obviously in the heading lock. We're just letting the motor steer for us. But like if I was in these creeks and I was trolling around for bait, I'll put that motor, just face it forward, put my speed whatever I want, and then I'll steer with my rudder handle over here. And I like that. That keeps you from having to push buttons on the remote all the time. Keeps you from running down the batteries in the remotes. These remotes on the Motor Guide are not the best quality anyway, and the less I can mash buttons, the longer they last typically. And I go through a remote about once a year anyhow. So that's kind of another disadvantage of the Jackson Take 2, the fact you can't have a rudder on it. And there's some other options. I mean, the Old Town Autopilot kayak I had, I didn't like the motor, but the kayak was good. I mean, it was a good quality kayak. Very thick plastic, very stable, a lot of space in it. And I could put another motor on the front of it if I wanted to. But it's like, do you want to pay the premium for that kayak when you're not going to be using the motor that comes with it? So yeah, it's one of them things. I'm hoping this year, now that we're past COVID and supply chain stuff's kind of opened back up, I'm hoping that these companies come out with some newer models. We saw some new models last year. Native come out with their new Titan X, I think it is, and it has a swivel seat. It's got battery compartments. It's got a area in the front to mount a motor to. I mean, they really put a lot of thought into it. I don't really like that kayak, but they put a lot of thought into the features on it. So that's an option too. But I'm hoping some companies this year will have some new models coming out. COVID really set everything back, not just during the initial shutdown of everything that happened in the country, but the kayak companies had trouble filling demand, first off, because during the pandemic, everybody was doing outdoor activities. So a lot of people took up kayaking and kayak fishing. And so there was an extra demand for kayaks that wasn't there before. And then on top of that, kayak companies were having trouble getting materials to make the kayaks with. All of the components to make a kayak come from overseas. You know, a lot of these kayak companies will say made in the USA. Well, yeah, they're technically made in the USA, but all of the materials and components to make them with come from overseas. So, you know, when the supply chain was just shut down, kayak companies, they couldn't get plastic. They couldn't get, just the raw materials needed to make kayaks with. So everything got behind, and it really delayed the development of new models. So now we're at a point now, everything's kind of opened back up. The supply chain's going good. They can get materials. Demand has died down. They're able to fulfill orders in a quicker time period. So I'm hoping now we'll get some more options. And I think there's enough interest in kayaks that are made for, what's the word I'm looking for? I won't say made for catfishermen specifically, because there's not enough of a market just for a kayak catfishing specific kayak, but there is a demand for people wanting a kayak that they can use a 360-degree seat, especially with the live scopes now. Crappie fishermen, you roll up on a brush pile and the wind's blowing you. The motor's facing one direction because the wind's blowing. You can spin your seat around any which way you want and fish toward a brush pile. You know, if you were brush pile fishing. So there's an interest in that. There's enough people want that kind of feature. I'm hoping to see it put on some more kayaks just right out the gate without having to do all the DIY modifications. But as for what kayak I will be in a year from now, I couldn't tell you. If the day comes that YouTube fizzles out for me, and it may be today if I don't catch some more fish, because it's hard to keep people entertained when you ain't catching nothing. But when YouTube eventually dies off, I will sell all of this stuff off. For me just to go out and have fun fishing on my own without having to worry about getting 100+ videos per year filmed, I'll gladly do that in my pedal kayak with no motor, no live scope. I mean, I can go have a good time with bare minimal setup. But for YouTube purposes, I want every tool available to me. So we'll see what happens. I have to believe at some point in the near future, Hobie is going to come out with a kayak that is either made for motors to be installed on it, or have their own motor system, whether it be like pedal assist with their Hobie pedal drives, or just be able to easily mount an aftermarket motor on, because that's where the industry has gone. I mean, we're at a point now, the pedal drive kayaks have gotten so expensive. You're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 for a pedal drive kayak. Well, you can buy a paddle kayak, pretty much any model you want, for $1,500, $1,700, $1,800. You can then put you a Motor Guide XI3 up there. I think they're like $1,300 now. They get you a lithium battery, and you come out for the same price or cheaper than what you can get a pedal drive for. So I think and now that all these big kayak tournaments, they're all starting to allow motors now. The demand for pedal drives is just, it's kind of drying up. So I think Hobie's going to have to get with the times. They were very anti-motor for the longest time, but they've been sold. They've got new owners as of a couple years ago, and they moved their operation out of the United States down to Mexico. And I think the new owners are they're more concerned about making money than they are being set in their ways as far as, wanting the kayaks propelled by their drive system. So I think that'll be the next big thing we see. I think is probably a different kayak from Hobie, or a motorized drive from Hobie. I would be shocked if we don't get it this year at either ICAST or one of the big fishing shows in the summer. I would be shocked, because Hobie hasn't really come out with anything other than the 360 drive in a long time. And let's face it, again, the 360 drive was kind of a bust. A lot of people bought them, but a lot of people have had problems. Everybody I know have had problems. And the thing about them drives, this is what was so crazy to me, just hearing my friends talk about them when they've tore them up, is how hard they are to work on. Like, Jim Bob can't just take that kayak to his garage and bust out his tools and fix that thing. Look right here. Here we go. Whoa, that was a pulling now. Oh man, that was pulling. Okay. I was talking about Jim Bob trying to fix a kayak. This fish here, he said his name's Jim Bob. I might have tricked him into biting by calling him my name. Yeah, folks, we just keep making our way along here, seeing bait on the screen. There's some fish around it there. 45 feet deep here. Nice to get a bite again. It ain't fast action today. I didn't think it would be. I thought it was going to be a situation where we just kind of have to grind today, unless we just stumble into some fish. If we really got into a school of them here, obviously I could anchor down or spot lock and set on top of them, but with me not having been on the water much lately, it's hard to get a pattern going. This is one of those techniques you can drag and do this anywhere, any depth, and you cover water, you run into some fish eventually. You have to. Statistically speaking, you have to, right? So you do this, one of these techniques you can do, and you can kind of limit the number of times you get skunked. Basically is what I was trying to get out. And for this style of video, I definitely don't want to get skunked. I'd like to be getting fish more frequently than I am, but oh man, this fish come up back there by my dang balloon. I hope he didn't get in that rig. Oh, he did. You doo-doo head. He's gonna sit down there and roll and have every one of them flies in that jig all wrapped around him, I bet. You doo-doo head. You kids at home, there ain't no kids still watching at this point in the video, but don't be calling people doo-doo heads just because you heard me say it. Man. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, he's all up in that mess. Another one on the head bait. He's comparable size to the others. Let's get this Let's get this over here and see what we can do with this mess. You danged old fish. Why'd you have to get my balloon rig on the way up? If you had stayed down just a little bit longer, you could have avoided all this. Actually, we may have got lucky right there, folks. We did. Did you see that? Okay, it went back. I thought I got it undone, and I thought I'd done it, wrapped it up again myself. Okay, fish number 3. We getting there, folks. Two rods with cut bait, but only one of them getting hit. Okay, let's take a look at our head. Let's take a look at that. Oh, that still looks good. We're gonna send that back out. I'll tell you what, let's just send it back out while we got this fish. You knucklehead, you saw that balloon up there and you thought you was gonna make my life difficult, didn't you? Well, joke's on you, buddy. I got it undone quick. Thank you for coming along, fish. These people my fishing buddies here been bored out of their minds listening to me flap my gums. He's pooped on my hand. That fish, not only is he a doo-doo head, he doo-dooed on my hand. I can't believe that. Now I have to wash this hand. We're gonna get it ice cold again. Nasty old fish. Look at those right there, man. That's behind us now. That was a bigger mark up there. There's a couple big marks right there. That's interesting. I don't know what those are. All right. Hey, you know what, folks? It's cold, but the wind is lightening up. The sun has peeked out a few times to warm up my back, and slowly but surely we're grinding out a bite. I don't know about y'all, some of y'all expert fishermen according to the comment box, but I've had worse days. Keep letting out a little more line on that. We may adjust we're starting now to go around this bend a little bit, so we're gonna have to kind of keep an eye on where we're at here on the ledge. Right now we're still okay, but I want to make sure we kind of keep on that edge there, the bottom edge of it. I'm gonna set on my hands again to try to warm everything up. That's the worst part of cold weather, is getting your hands and feet cold. My feet are okay today, but my hands, when they get wet, that's when it gets rough. I think what I'm gonna do, it's been a while, when we get this rod here set with the head bait, I think I'm gonna cut another chunk and switch out our bait on our other rod over here. Let's do that, because it's been down there over an hour now, so we need to switch it out. I can't believe the head's caught 3 fish. Here I did, I just got my hands dried off, and I'm gonna be getting them wet again. 3 fish on the heads and nothing on the chunk. I think what I'm gonna do this time, on the other chunk I'd cut the gut pocket out to try to make it like a little bit smaller profile bait, but with these smaller cats eating the head bait, I'm just going to leave the gut pocket intact. Put it down there, see what happens. It'll either catch fish or it won't. Yeah, Bait's still on the hook. It just ain't nothing touching it. I don't know if it's the bait or if it's I mean, it still looks okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's the bait or just the position. You know, obviously this gut pocket, it's gonna fall out anyway, but we're gonna leave it as is. It might make it down there before it comes out. I'll let it go down there while I get my hands wet again. But when you're working, you know, we're trying to stay on the edge here of the ledge, right? So, and this is to the left of us. So this bait, it's closer on that side than the other one. You know, my other bait over here is, these rods are 7 foot long. I think this one's his tongue. I don't think that's a fish. Come on, we'll come out of that. We may be going back for one here. I think we're gonna have to go back for this one. We snagged in something. Well, crapola. About to go back for one here, y'all. I ain't gonna break it off. No, I was trying to say, that bait's pulling along the edge over here. This one over here is farther away. With our rods being 7 foot long, that one's like, I don't know, what, 15 feet away from the edge of the ledge. So sometimes that matters. Sometimes it don't if fish are real active, but there are days when it does. Okay. Well, let's reel this one back in. We're going to turn around and go get our other one because I don't want to be breaking off if I don't have to. I didn't see nothing down there for us to be snagged in, but these sinkers do pretty good about coming through stuff. But they do, like everything else, occasionally get snagged. Usually when you get snagged to the point that you got to break off, it ain't your sinker that's hung, it's your hook. We'll find out here in a minute what this one is, whether it's a sinker or a hook issue. I told you y'all here with me. Real fishing trip here, folks. Snags and all. There it comes, just like that. Hit it from a different angle, and there it comes. You know what I think I want to do? Let's do this, since we're getting reset anyway. Let's take a peek up here at the top of this drop and just see what's going on up there. If there's a lot of bait up here at the top of this drop, we may run shallower for a minute. Let's see my screen here. We're going up. We're going up the ledge now. Let's just get up here, and there's been bait all the way up there. We'll get up on top and see what's going on. I'm not really seeing much. It was we had bait coming all the way up that ledge, and we get up here on top of it, and now there's really nothing up here. Yeah, let's go back down. Let's go back down to the bottom, the lower break line. We'll see as it starts to drop back off here. We'll see where that bait kind of starts at. Yeah, the bait's really right there about that 30 30-foot mark. Yeah, all kinds of stuff right there. Right there's I think that's a tree or a brush or something right there. That may be crappie on that one, actually. All right, let's get spun back around, and we're going to get everything reset on our speed, and we'll be back in the game. All right. All right. Let's let our lines back out here. Let's get our balloon rig and send it back out. We'll be cooking with Crisco again, folks. Minimal bites thus far, but you know what? The everyday ain't action-packed, man. Sometimes you gotta grind. Today's a grinding day. I'll eventually get them dialed back in, but it's just gonna take some time on the water to do that. I get on a bite, you know, a certain depth, certain type of structure, we can pattern that. But this time of year, with everything that's went on weather-wise, they could be back of that creek. Could be the bite today. Just don't know. I think that ought to be good on that balloon. We may run it back a little farther this time, maybe. Send it back there a little farther. Maybe the next fish won't get in it on his way up if he decides to come to the surface right away. All right. Got that reset. Got our speed set. We're just cruising along here. We're just gonna stay the course here. Just keep working up here around this bend. See what else we can find. I'm seeing, I mean, one thing about when we first started the trip today, it looked like the Dead Sea on the graph. I mean, there was just nothing going on. But the last 30 minutes to an hour, we've had bait there pretty consistently along this ledge. And now we know it's down on the ledge. It's not up on top. So I think we're in the right place. We just got to cover some water till we find some better quality cats. Engage those, and we're ready again. I'm gonna settle my hands here so I can try to warm them back up. The fish will let me know when my hands are warm, because that's when the next one will bite. Guaranteed. I don't remember what I was talking about now. It don't matter no way. Most of you done tuned me out anyhow. I don't blame you. Are you kidding me? Am I about to get snagged in that again? What? It better not be the same thing. Okay, that one come free. There's definitely some brush. We saw that one piece of brush there on that ledge. Oh, come on now. Don't do this to me. There it comes. That's one piece of advice. If you're going to drag, I'll give you. When you do get snagged, if you'll give the line some slack and then raise straight up on it like that, pull it straight up, you can oftentimes pull that sinker up and over whatever debris or log or whatever it is down there that it's gotten hung up in. It's rough on that bottom. Like I can feel that sinker coming over some stuff. But so far so good. I do occasionally, I like to just, if I get snagged like that, I'll go back and get it, you know, because I mean, I'm just running 2 rods. It ain't a big deal to reel in and go back and get it. Now if you're pulling planer boards and you got multiple rods out, multiple boards out, you have to break off. Like you can't, it would be too time consuming to reel in 6 other lines, take your planer boards off, go back, get a snag, set everything back out, reconnect your planer boards. You have to break off in that situation. But me running 2 rods, I can quickly go back and get it and be set up again and back in the game. And I hate losing tackle. So I would rather just go back and get it. And I hate planer boards too. I've used them. I got videos on my channel using them. They're an effective tool for some situations, but they're just, I just don't find them to be fun. You got to let out so much line. And then when you fish first hits, you're fighting the board. You gotta take the board off when you get it up close before you can land the fish. I just don't like them, man. I said that in that seminar we did over the weekend. I'm like, if the day ever comes that I got to use planer boards to catch a catfish, I'd just soon quit fishing. Like, I mean, I get the appeal, and my hat's off to the people that like using them, but I just don't think it's that much fun. And when I go fishing, I want to have fun. Doing things how we're doing them today with the lines just going off the back of the kayak, when I pick up on that fish, I'm fighting a fish, not a board. And I'm not running super long distances. Like, for instance, if we had a planer board on this rod, I'd let out probably about that much line that we got out now. Then I'd connect the planer board. Look right here. Look right here. Our balloon got hit. By gosh, we got one on this fancy rig here. Sure as the world. I can't wait to see, did this one eat the jig with the cut bait, or did he eat one of the flies? And what is he? Is it a cat? Is it something else? I'll be doggone. Y'all doubted this rig. I know some of you watching at home doubted this thing, but by gosh, it worked. We got one on it. Let's see what he's eating. Okay, there's one fly. There's the, okay, he's ate the jig, and it is a cat. It's a cat. I think it's a blue. He has ate the jig and the piece of cut bait. I'll be doggone, y'all, it happened. This rig wasn't a complete waste of time after all. Now, I guarantee some of you's out there in internet land that's come fishing with me today, y'all was mocking me. You didn't think it would work. And by gosh, here we are. You the first one on this fancy rig, kitty. What you got to say for yourself? He ain't got nothing to say. He's a small fella. But it worked. I had that piece of cut bait just to give it a little cinch, you know, just to, I don't know if it was necessary or not. When I'm sniping them with the live scope, I'm not using any kind of sense or cut bait, but I thought, what the heck, it's not going to hurt anything. I may go ahead and switch that out too. I had cut another little piece earlier just to have it ready to go. when I got baited up the first time, so we'll stick that on. That's exciting, y'all. This rig is paying off. Got us an extra bite. I'll tell Daniel that's the first fish caught on his new jigs, by gosh. He'll be happy to know that his fancy jigs have caught a fish. I had let that balloon drift back much further behind the kayak than I did the first time. Now, I don't know if that made a difference or not, but we'll let this one go out farther too. All y'all watching at home right now, you made fun of me when I showed that rig off first thing, and who's laughing now, by gosh? It worked. I mean, this is basically, like I said, it's basically my same setup that I would use for catching skipjack or white bass, yellow bass. It's just bigger flies, bigger jig, and I'm running it under a balloon to kind of keep it up, because if I'm trolling for skipjack, I'm obviously moving at quicker speed, so the speed alone keeps the baits higher in the water column. This, if I don't, well, because we're moving so slow, if I don't have it under a float or balloon or something, it'll be dragging bottom back there and would be snagged and everything. So having it back there under the balloon kind of keeps it where it needs to be. And so that bottom jig, it's 1 ounce. So I would say it was probably running 8 foot or so. So yeah, busted us one higher up in the water column. Daniel's going to be so happy I caught a fish on his jigs. I talked him into, Daniel owns Catfish Sumo, and I'm friends with him and whatnot, and so last year, it was around this time, January, February, I was catching them fish. Well, we've drifted off this ledge here. We got to move back to the left here. So last year I talked him into making me some jigs, because I was having problems when I was catching those fish with the jigs I was using. I was bending hooks and stuff, and so I was like, Daniel, I need some lures basically for catfish that I can come out here, ounce and a half, you know, get them down there quick to these fish that are deeper that I'm tossing out to, and have a hook that will hold up to some catfish. And so he worked on it, and let's see, I think I might have yeah, I do. I've got a package. He come up with some, I can't get a hold of the dang things. Yeah, but anyway, so here's the finished product. Bait stock or jigs, and they're basically a bucktail jig with a little bit of flash here, but a thicker hook, a better quality hook than some of the jigs that I had gotten at the local tackle shops. These are a lot stronger, a lot better. I have more confidence in these hooks. Now, the jig that's back there under that balloon's a different color. This is a shad color. I've got this tied on my rod that we ain't thrown all day, but I've got it tied on here. So if we do see them high up and we want to try to snipe them, that's what we do. Now you can see here, see if I can hold this up, I did cut some of the skirt off, because this material here, it goes 2 or 3 inches past the hook, and so I've trimmed that down a little bit, so if we get some short strikes, they're still hopefully going to get that hook. But yeah, those available, catfishsumo.com if anybody's interested. But I had got Daniel to make me some jigs, and then that bite I was on last year died off. I just couldn't find any more fish that were live scopeable. You know, I was having a hard time. Once those big schools of shad dispersed in the spring, I just wasn't seeing fish up anymore where I could drop a jig down and bust them with it, right? And I ain't got on it this winter. And Daniel's like, you know, I made these dang jigs. Now you can't even catch a fish. You can't even find something to throw them at. I'm like, I know, Daniel, I know. That one right there is a better mark. If we'd seen him sooner, if I'd paid attention to him sooner, we might have thrown at him. But good news is, in the event that I do get back on a live scopeable bite, I do have a lure that I can throw with some better quality hooks. I like last year I did real good on the hair jigs, like ones I just showed you there. The hair jigs, and then I had some swim baits from Elias V Fishing, and those did really well too. I caught a bunch of fish on those. And Elias's jig heads are real good quality too. But his jig heads are made for his plastics, because his plastics, the design of them kind of go around that head like it's a unique shape head. I wanted something that I just, like a hair jig style, that didn't have a lot of action. Because, you know, these winter months, I don't necessarily, you got water temps in the low 40s. I don't want something that's like, has a lot of action, you know. The hair jig, it's coming through the water. It's a very subtle movement. And so that's kind of what I was wanting. But I needed that better quality hook, and I wanted something with eyes on it too, because we've had a lot of discussions about the eyes on a bait. Like, why does a head bait produce such better quality fish? When I'm using cut bait, I catch a lot of fish on the chunks, but my best quality fish oftentimes on the head pieces. Like, what's different about those two cuts? Well, the obvious thing that leaps out is the fact that the head baits have eyes, right? So that was one of the things, like these jigs, I wanted them to have some eyes on them. Not that it makes a difference at all, but if it does, then we've at least got them, you know. That's exciting though, folks. I don't care if he was that small a fish, smallest fish of the day. Our fancy rig that I know some of you had no confidence in, it caught a fish. We'll get some more on it too, I bet. Especially as we get on into some warmer water. Now, I was thinking about that rig as far as sometimes in the late spring, summer months, I'll pull balloons in the shallows as fish are kind of working back to spawn, and they're in the shallows where I'll pull balloons through there. And I was like, you know, I bet I could catch a fish on a fly or jig or something in that situation. I caught some on the fly when I was in the tournament last year at Hoover Reservoir. I was running balloon rigs, and I had a normal piece of cut bait, and below that I'd have a fly like my normal suspend fishing rig, but I was just doing it under balloons. And the biggest fish I caught in that particular tournament came on a fly that was under a bait, piece of cut bait that was a few feet below the surface. But at the Hoover tournament last year, I saw fish up in the water column. Like, that's why I tied on the balloons. So I was fishing 20-something feet deep, but I would be seeing schools of shad like up near the surface, and they were having these huge marks come into the school and bust them up and stuff. And so that's what prompted me to tie on those balloons in that tournament, or in the pre-fishing leading up to the tournament. And sure enough, it worked. So there are times, catfish are kind of known as, you know, bottom feeders. They spend a lot of their life on or near bottom, but it's not 100% of their life. They are times when they're up in the water column, they're up chasing bait, when it happens, or they're suspended up for whatever reason, maybe it's a thermocline situation at a particular lake or body of water, when it happens, you can get them. That's a little better mark out there. I wonder if we could try to take a swing at him, maybe. I'll have to play the angle here. See if I can get down to him before we pass him up. I lost sight of him. I see my jig, I lost sight of him. Right in here is where he was at, but I done lost sight of him. Like I said, it's going to be hard with us moving into the current. It's going to be hard to snipe on with the jig. We're going to have to get lined up on him, and he's going to have to be still. If I wasn't talking to you, I'd text Daniel right now and tell him about that fish we caught. That'd be rude if I pulled out my phone while I'm sitting here talking to you. I think that thing might have got hit again back there. Balloon's still up. Thought I heard the rod rattle around. I may have been imagining things. Oh, here comes that sun back out. Wish that sun would stay out a little while. It's just cold enough to be a nuisance today. It feels after, and it's funny how our bodies do this. The first cold snap in the fall, when you've had temperatures 80, 90 degrees and you get that first cold snap where the mornings are down like in the low 50s, high 40s, low 50s, it feels frigid. You know, I mean, it just feels like you're in the Arctic when it's 40 something, 50 something degrees. Then as the winter goes on, your body adapts. A day in the high 40s feels warm. I feel like it's kind of like that with this polar vortex that moved through. We had such cold temperatures, single digits, some of the wind chills below zero. You get out there and you walk around in the yard and slogging through the snow, and then when it warms up in the 40s, you're like, holy cow, this is a heat wave working through. Like, it actually feels warm to you, or warmer. So I kind of feel like that's where I'm at right now with my body. I feel like I'm adapting to the colder temperatures. I can't remember if I've talked to you all. Speaking of body stuff, I can't remember if I've talked to you all about it or not. So back around, it was before Thanksgiving, November, I had a DNA test done, and I know I talked about that on video because I went on a rambling, I went on a long-winded spiel about the whole DNA test thing. But I had broke down and done it. I had taken the Gary Brecka DNA test it's basically, it checks 5 genes, and it tells you if your body is able to break down certain things you eat and whatnot. And so I finally got those results back. I guess it was after the first of the year here. So 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, I got those results back. And I know there were some people, when I had mentioned that I had done the DNA test, some people were interested. So I'll give you the follow-up on that. So the 5 genes that they checked, and don't ask me what they are, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they basically give you a breakdown of these genes. And if it's green, it means you're good. Neither parent gave you the mutation. You're functioning at optimal level. If it's yellow, it means one parent gave you the mutation. And so your body is functioning, that particular gene's basically functioning at like 40% of what it should be. And if you're in the red, it means both parents gave you the mutation and like your body's not converting whatever. So 2 of my genes were green, 3 of them were yellow, meaning one of my parents is a jerk and was very inconsiderate and gave me one of these mutated genes. So this is where it gets a little questionable. So when I mentioned, I did this DNA test after watching Gary Brecka on Joe Rogan. And at the time, I was about 60-40 split. I'm like, 60% of me thinks this is legit. 40% of me thinks this is a snake oil sales pitch. But anyway, I plunked down the money. I did it. And I get these results back, and they tell you what you need to overcome these deficiencies in your genes. And you know what I need? I need a damn multivitamin. Now, so basically, if any of y'all out there are thinking about doing this DNA test, let me tell you the results. If your genes come back and you've got these mutations, they're going to tell you take a multivitamin. If your genes are perfectly fine, well, guess what you probably need to do anyway? You probably need to take your multivitamin. So skip the $600 DNA test and just get you some multivitamins. So that's my advice to you. But anyway, I'm taking me some multivitamins now. But allegedly, these multivitamins are going to cure everything that ails you. Which has me thinking more and more that maybe it's a snake oil sales pitch, because I mean, come on, if the multivitamin is going to cure all your ailments, it just, I'm thinking about it from a snake oil salesman perspective, right? Like, if you're a good salesman, well, the first thing you need is you need a product to sell. Well, what's something that you could sell that has I'm not in the multivitamin business, but I would assume, just based on the cost of the vitamins for us customers who buy them, I have to believe there's a huge markup. Like, there has to be a huge profit margin. So having a product with a huge profit margin, great for a snake oil salesman. The more you sell, the more you make, right? You get your product. Well, now you need a story. You need to get some people to want to buy your product. And man, telling people they got mutated genes, they need this multivitamin to be able to convert folate or folic acid into folate and yada, yada, yada. It'd be a damn good sales pitch for a sleazy salesman. So either way, though, whether it's true or not, we could all use a multivitamin. It ain't gonna hurt nothing to take it. So I got me some multivitamins, and I bought Gary Brecka's multivitamins too. I went ahead and got his kind. They're comparable price to any other vitamin, at least good vitamins anyway. You can get the cheap ones at Walmart, drugstore, but those vitamins, they've got, when you look at the ingredient list on those cheaper vitamins, they've got a lot of stuff in there that you don't, fillers and stuff you don't really want. So if you're going to spend a little more and get a better quality vitamin, it was comparable price to buy his brand versus some of the other reputable companies on the market. So he got me for a DNA test and some multivitamins. And I flip-flopped. Initially, I was about 60% thinking it was legit, 40% thinking it was snake oil. Now it's the exact opposite. I'm like 40% thinking there's some merit to it, and 60% thinking I've been gypped. So anyway, though, if y'all out there, you see Gary Brecka on the YouTube or the TikTok, and you're thinking about spending $600 on a DNA test, let me just save you that money, and you go get you some multivitamins, because that's what they're going to tell you to take regardless. You're going to need you some multivitamins. I fell for it, man. Hook, line, and sinker. I watched the change in Dana White. I mean, Dana White's had a clear change. I mean, he was overweight and just looked bad, you know, and he looks amazing now. So clearly what he has done has worked for him, but he gives all the credit to Gary Brecka. Now, is that legit? He says it is, but I don't know him, you know. I don't have a reason not to trust him other than the fact that it's on the internet. How can you trust anything on the internet? So, anyway, anybody out there that was wondering, pretty sure, I know I told you it's about doing the test, but I don't think I told you the follow-up results from it. So, and here's something else about that whole process that was kind of sleazy, I felt like. So I was under the impression when you did the DNA test that you were going to get basically like, you know, a consultation of some kind. And you kind of did. Like, they sent you this printout. But like for somebody at their organization to call you up and tell you exactly what you needed, that was $100 and something extra charge. And I'm like, that's kind of shady. So, yeah. Take you a multivitamin, everybody. It's good for you anyway. You need your multivitamin. We're all deficient in something. None of us eat good like, well, I don't say none of us. Most of us don't eat good like we're supposed to. I eat better now since the polar vortex come through, that's for sure. But we could all do a little better. Polar vortex changed my life, y'all. Got me cooking my own food now. Got me in the habit of doing all that. I hope it lasts. I think part of it too, I just get tired of eating out. Like, I go up to Longhorn quite a bit. I'll have them cook a steak, because they cook steak better than I do. But fast food stuff, I just get tired of it. It's all burgers and chicken everywhere you go. Burgers and chicken. That's your options. Nice to get a variety once in a while. And we're still seeing all this bait right here, man. There's been bait all up this ledge. We just ain't run into very many cats. I'm wondering, you know, we talked about the decision to come out here versus fishing back in the creek itself, but the fact that the bait has been deep, and there wasn't, when we went and looked on top of the ledge there at the top of the drop, there wasn't anything. Makes me wonder if there was anything in the creek at all, like if it's all pulled out. Because I mean this has been, we've covered some distance at this point now, as long as we've been going, and we're still seeing bait there. Like, there's a lot of bait out here in the main channel. Makes me wonder if there's anything in the creek at all. Even though we haven't got the results I had hoped for yet, I'm wondering if we maybe didn't make the right decision by coming out here anyway. What do we got now? 3 or 4 fish? 3 on the head, 1 on the jig, and over 2 hours. I mean, it's a slow bite, but we ain't skunked. We've caught a fish on our fancy rig. Daniel, he ain't gonna be impressed at that fish, but I am, by gosh. Made my day to catch a fish on that fancy rig. I tied that up before I left the house. It's like, I'm gonna try it. Today's the day. It's been on my to-do list, but today is the day. We're gonna have to tinker with our position in here too a little bit. We're coming around this bend, and then we're gonna have to. I've got that course heading set, keeps you in a straight line, so we can adjust our speed, because you can't just run this cruise control without having the motor and the course heading. So we're gonna have to kind of finagle our way to keep ourselves on the edge while working around through here. If y'all's a real friend, y'all would handle steering the kayak for me, or at least unhook the fish so I don't get my hands wet. I ain't been able to get y'all to do nothing today. Y'all would be ashamed of yourselves. It's making me do everything like this. I still like you, so I'll bring you along next time too, just because. This unedited catfish video stuff has been it's been an experiment. I'd done 2 videos before the polar vortex, and the first one, you know, and I had no idea what to expect. I mean, it's one of them things, you throw crap at the wall, you see what sticks. And the first one was a total disaster. I mean, it bombed. It was one of my lowest performing videos in years. I mean, just awful, right? And so I had already filmed the second one the day after that one. And so I almost didn't post it. I was like, the first one done so poorly, this just isn't going to work. But I'd already filmed it. I'd had it uploaded. I'm like, let's just throw it out there, you know, let's see what happens. And much to my surprise, the second one did significantly better. The first one, I think at this point now, the first one's got like 12,000 views. It hit 12,000 views in a few days and just died. It's stuck there at 12,000 views. Average watch time on it's awful. I mean, just terrible performing video. But the second one, significantly better, and it's got 40 something thousand views now, which is above average for my channel for this time of year. And so I'm like, well, you got one video that flopped and one that done well. I'm like, well, maybe we'll just do another one here, and we'll see. We'll have a tiebreaker, see how this one does. Them 2 trips, though, ironically, the first one that bombed, I had done better fishing in. I'd caught more fish, got better quality fish. The second one was kind of like a day like today. I was fishing a ledge, and it was kind of a catch a fish, wait a while, catch another fish, wait a while. And I don't remember how many fish I got that particular session, 4 or 5 fish, I think. It wasn't a lot, but it done so much better. I mean, the average watch time was more than double of the first video. So I don't know. We just keep trying. And those of you that like it, thanks. Appreciate you coming along with me. Those of you that don't, well, I understand. Every video ain't for everybody. But a day like today, This is one thing about these kind of trips is I think it does two things. And I've mentioned this before, it offers an opportunity to have people come with you on a real fishing trip. Not a highlight trip, not, you know, something's been edited down, but it gives somebody a real fishing trip to come along with you. We just sit out here, even though y'all can't talk back to me through the screen, you know, I feel like we're just chatting like we're friends. You'd be hearing the same stuff out my mouth through this video than what you'd be hearing if we were sitting out here and I was complaining about a overpriced DNA test and multivitamins, just like we were here together, you know. But the other thing this type of video does for people, hopefully anyway, is it'll give you a real world experience. I think some people get a misconception of what catfishing is like on YouTube. Like, you know, you click on a video that's 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long, and it's just non-stop, action-packed, one fish after another. I think some people, when they go out fishing, they have a expectation that that's how it really is. And it is like that sometimes. I mean, sometimes you get on a really hot bite or you're on a pile of fish, but a lot of times it's like today. You get a bite and move along, you get another bite and you move along. And, you know, a day like today, like the action we've got so far, I wouldn't, if I was doing an edited video, the fish we've gotten so far wouldn't make it to YouTube, right? For an edited video anyway. But, you know, let's just say, for instance, I fished 4 hours today. It's probably somewhere thereabouts. And we get the fish we got, and then somewhere up through here, we get a big fish or two, or maybe we get a few more bites. And I edited this down to a 15-20 minute video. Well, it would look like I was just catching these fish very quickly. You wouldn't see the downtime. Now, the advantage of that is when you do an edited video is that, well, you don't see the downtime. A lot of people don't want to see that, you know. That's not what they're tuning in for. It's not entertaining. But I hate that some people, I feel like, just get that misconception that they go out and they don't catch 20 fish in 30 minutes and they think they're doing something wrong. And in reality, it's just, you don't get those kind of bites every day. And I think these videos too, for somebody who is interested in learning how to catfish, and I ain't saying I'm the person to learn from, but you can get some good information just seeing how I'm working the contour, seeing the bait fish on the screen there when we come across them. What do other fish look like on there? You know, you can get information in that can maybe be beneficial to you that maybe you wouldn't get in an edited video per se. We can go a little bit more in depth on things with this style than what we can on an edited video, where I have to get through things quicker to be able to get to the next fish to keep people's attention engaged. It's funny, we were told, this is what the experts, that's a nicer fish right there, about 45 feet. But the experts tell us that attention spans have gotten shorter and shorter, hence the need for TikToks and YouTube Shorts and blah, 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 blah. You know, they say that people just can't pay attention very long, and the kids today just can't stay focused. Yet, when I do these unedited videos, and I've done enough of them now, I mean, it's not a fluke. I mean, I don't know how many I've done off the top of my head, but some of my ultralight videos, unedited, have gotten hundreds of thousands of views. I think my most viewed videos got over 400,000 views now. It's like when a person chooses to click on a video that's over 3 hours long, it's like, you know, when it's YouTube, it's not like Facebook or Instagram, like you're scrolling and the video just starts playing. And that counts as a view. Like on Facebook, Instagram, I think if they're scrolling and the video plays for like 3 seconds before you scroll by, that counts as a view. That's not the case on YouTube. With YouTube, a person has to manually click on the video for it to play, and then they have to watch for at least 30 seconds for it to count as a view. So when I get like that ultralight video, 400,000 views, and that video is over 3 hours long, it's like there's people that's making a commitment. They see that video, they see it's 3 hours long, and they are choosing to click on it and watch, and the watch time reflects it. They're sticking with it. It's not like they're clicking on and then 45 seconds later they click off. If that was the case, my watch time would be in the toilet, you know. So the whole notion that society today doesn't have any attention span, I don't think is necessarily accurate. I think maybe part of it is people lose attention quickly for stuff that they're not interested in. And that's kind of the case with me. Like if I'm watching even if it's a short video, like a TikTok, I know that video is going to be under a minute long. But if you don't hook my attention quickly, then I'm going to move on to the next one, right? And so I think that's what's most important, regardless of length of video. It's giving the person what they want, providing some kind of value to that person, whatever it is. Now, I don't know what value these videos, these unedited videos, provide really overall to an average person watching. I guess it's going to vary different things for different people, but there's clearly some value in it for the people who watch. And I think that's maybe the key, is whatever it is that you do, whatever style of video you do, you've got to find the audience who likes what it is that you're doing, or change what you're doing to better suit what it is that people want. And that's easier said than done, but I personally am like that. If I don't like something, I lose interest in it very quickly. If I do like something, I can watch it for hours. Going back to the whole Gary Brecka DNA test thing, like that episode of Joe Rogan, I don't remember how long it was, probably 2 or 3 hours. I mean, that's what his podcasts normally run. I watched it start to finish, held my attention. But if I click on another type of video and 30 seconds in, I'm like, well, this sucks, so I click off. So is that a problem of my attention span, or is it a problem of the person that's failed to keep my attention? So I think this whole saying people and society's attention span has gotten shorter, I think it's maybe a cop-out for people who are just posting content that's not very good to say. And I ain't trying to say like my content's better than anybody else's because I get views and maybe somebody else don't. But I think maybe it's that, you know, my content's reaching the type of people who's interested in this type of content, whereas another content creator maybe just isn't. Maybe they're not reaching the right people. But that's my thoughts on that, by gosh. I think we're being lied to in the media. I know we're being lied to in the media, but that's one of those things that's I think that just they're telling us. I've not seen any statistical data showing that people can't hold attention for, you know, a certain period of time. We do have a lot more options now. There is a lot more stuff competing with our attention. Our phones are constantly dinging, emails, text, social media notifications. Like, it's harder to keep someone's attention versus you know, some other competing interest that's after that same attention. But I don't think that's on the person necessarily. I think it's just, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. Media's definitely lying to us, though. You can't find a reputable news source. It's like the weather. When this polar vortex come in, the local news stations, some of them was calling for 2 to 4 inches. Some of them 3 to 5. None of them, not a single news station local to me, said anything about 8 inches of snow. And that's what we all got in my area. 8 inches. I've seen reports 10 and 12 inches of snow. People around me. Not one damn weather forecaster called that much snow. We ain't had an accurate weather report in East Tennessee since Margie Ison retired. And for those of you outside of East Tennessee, maybe don't know who Miss Margie Ison was, she was a weather lady. And when I say weather lady, I mean she was the weather lady. Channel 10 News back in the day. She was not a meteorologist. Now let me tell you something. If you refer to a meteorologist as a weatherman or weather lady, be prepared for an argument. They are sensitive about this. I have offended them in the past. A couple years ago, somebody was on my comment box lighting my ass up because I had referred to them as the weatherman. And they wanted me to know they were a meteorologist. They had been trained and gone to school for that crap. So, yeah. Anyway, Margie Ison, she was a weather lady. She was not a meteorologist. She was not trained. But what she could do was she could go to her board that had the state of Tennessee and the various counties outlined. And if it was going to be sunny, she would put a sticker of the sun over your county. If it was going to rain, she could put a little rain cloud up. And her forecast was more accurate than these meteorologists with their fancy Doppler radars and all these other gadgets. So that's why I say here in East Tennessee, we ain't had a accurate forecast since Margie Ison retired. And I don't know, rest her soul, I don't know if she's alive or not, Miss Margie. She was on TV when I was a kid, and that was over. That was, well, how old am I? I'm about to turn 42 here soon. So, yeah, she was on TV 40 years ago. I don't know if she's still with us or not. But I ain't had an accurate forecast since she left. You'd think with all these Doppler radars and stuff, we'd be able to predict a little more accuracy when and where it was going to rain, how much snow you're going to get. The wind report is never right. Fortunately, out here, I think the wind now is less than it was when we first got out here, unless it's just we've got to this point in the river bend where it's not hitting us as much. Somebody's over there trying to start World War III. I had a person comment one time. There were shots being fired on my video, and the person comment was amazed that I wasn't flinching or nothing, didn't even acknowledge it. And it's like, well, when you grow up in the South, I mean, you hear it all the time. It's just another day. I guess if I lived in the hood somewhere, Chicago or something, I'd be, and I knew them shots were coming at me versus just being fired into a field somewhere, I might be a little bit more jumpy at it. But around here, it's just another day. They've done lost about $20 in bullets though. It's an expensive thing to partake in. Some of them bullets over $1 a piece, depending on what you're firing. I'm too cheap for it. We used to shoot skeet a little bit. And even at time you buy your shells and your skeet, just blasting money. It's like shooting off fireworks. You just light money on fire. I'm too cheap for that. At least if I buy a fishing lure, I can catch multiple fish on it. I wish y'all, speaking of catching fish, I wish y'all would catch a fish already. We've had another dry spell here. Still seeing some bait there on the screen. Right there's a mark right there. Just ain't reeling them in. Maybe a bait thing too, you know. I typically, when water temps in the 40s, I find shad to be a better bait. Shad is a cold water bait for me. But while the fish may like shad, I do not like netting them when it's freezing cold, because, well, you watching out there, I mean, y'all know how it is. You throw a cast net, you get soaking wet. And the last thing I want to be when I'm cold is soaking wet. So if I got easy access to something else, and the skipjack, like I said, I went out this morning just fishing off the bank in a creek and tore them up right there. They were easy to get. If skipjack is easy to get, and I'm not going to get soaking wet doing it, I'd just rather use skipjack and catch less fish. catch less catfish and stay dry. The fish we've got though on the head baits, I mean, they've been larger dinks, but I mean the head baits is that's palm size bait. So they're eating big baits for the size of their body. The ones we've gotten, I mean, they've been aggressive. I just wonder, I don't know. I don't know if we just think maybe we've pulled by some fish and just they've not been interested. Maybe it's our speed. Maybe let's slow down a little bit. You want to? Maybe we'll just slow our speed down a notch. We could just be in an area that don't have a lot of fish right now too. I mean, it's part of it. Bottom line is, I'm just not very good at fishing in the winter. I don't do it enough to get on a consistent bite. I've caught big fish in the past in the winter. A lot of people do. A lot of people like fishing in the winter. I just don't like being cold. I'm at a point in my life, I need to be, I guess I'm a fair weather fisherman. Oh, we had a little tap there. I guess I'm a fair weather fisherman, y'all. I'm turned into that point now. If it ain't sunny and 75, I just don't hardly want to go. I want to be comfortable when I'm fishing. I like fishing the best when I can wear flip-flops. When it's warm enough, you can go out in bare feet. That's the time to be fishing. When I go out in 3 layers and I'm still cold, that's the time to either be at the house or go somewhere warmer. And I tried to get some people to go with me to Florida this week. I made some calls because I'd looked at the forecast, and the weather here the rest of the week's looking pretty good. I mean, it's cooler, but no rain, and the wind is looking okay. Report, you know, assuming it's accurate. But looking down at Florida's forecast this week, I mean, it was looking a lot better. 70 degrees, minimal wind. I'm like, I need somebody to go catch some sharks with. Couldn't find anybody. So just fishing around East Tennessee this week. Got some trips coming up though. The tournaments, I've had some people ask about the catfish tournaments. Those start back in March. And I'm going to try to go to all of them. Unless just something comes up that prevents me from doing so. I'm going to try to hit all the different trail stops. And so the first one, I believe, is in Alabama. On we can either fish Wilson or Pickwick. And then in April, we've got Chickamauga, which is in Tennessee. We've got Nickajack in May, which is also in Tennessee. And then after that, I think we go to Ohio. I think we go to Hoover and Sandusky in June. Both of those in June, I think. And then we go, I don't know if it's July or August, but there's a West Virginia stop on the trail. I can't pronounce the name of the river. I can't remember. It starts with a K. Kawana, somewhere up there. West Virginia, and then we end the year at Santee Cooper, South Carolina. And there's another one there too, sometime in August, I think, that I can't. Oh, Louisiana. We're going to Louisiana on one of them. And that's one that I'm kind of excited about. The King Cat boat tournament trail went down there last year in Louisiana, and it took like 300 pounds and 6 fish to win. So I mean, that's a 50-pound average. And those people were apparently, I mean, just catching tons of fish down there. So kind of looking forward to that stop. It's not very far. Well, I mean, it is a pretty good drive for me. It's close to 9 hours, but it wasn't as long. When I looked it up, it wasn't as long a drive as what I thought it was going to be. Oh. You old fish. Slowed her speed down there, and we got a little tap. Maybe we've been going along too quickly up through here. We'll slow things down a little bit there. We'll keep it 0.3-ish. Let's see what'll happen. I should have already adjusted the speed, truth be told. I was talking to y'all, not paying attention. What I was doing was getting bit just often enough at the 0.5 mile an hour to justify continuing to go. But we'd had this stretch here where we ain't got nothing. Still seeing bait, so whatever he was, his little tap. He got him a little nip and went on. But yeah, so I'm gonna be doing I'm trying to do all of those trips. Because it's good, you know, when you go to those tournaments, events, it's when you're traveling somewhere new water that you're not familiar with, it's nice to have other people there just in case something goes wrong, you know what I mean? Like if you get stuck in a ramp somewhere, you're putting in somewhere new you've never been to before, and you get your vehicle stuck, or you know, whatever, you can call somebody that you know and come bail you out versus traveling by yourself. So it's nice from that perspective. You can kind of work together with people, try to find bait and things like that. So I'm gonna try to hit all those tournaments if I can, but I could be talked into heading to Florida or somewhere before those start back up. Typically with YouTube, my YouTube views kind of start to pick back up around usually middle of March. You'll start getting a little uptick in views. So if I was gonna travel somewhere these winter months, especially January, February, where the views are at their lowest for fishing channels, or for my channel anyway, kayak fishing channel, views are at their lowest in January, February. So if you're gonna travel somewhere, do something for yourself, or you're gonna, you know, maybe try a different type of fishing that maybe is not going to connect with your audience, now's the time to do it. Because it's once we get on into spring and views start going up, you kind of got to get focused on doing what works, for at least for video purposes, you know. So wouldn't mind maybe heading down to Florida again, and I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I wouldn't mind catching some more sharks, or even if I could just get down there in the canals and catch some more peacocks. That'd be a fun trip. Okay, now we got one on the chunk finally. No, we don't. He's come off. He's come off. Let's see if he'll come back for it here. He took it down kind of nice, but didn't stay buttoned up. That's 2 bites since we slowed our speed down, though. I'm wondering if we ain't been moving too fast up through here. Can't turn back around and go the other way, because we'll be moving too. What is this? There's our problem, folks. Look right here. You see that scale on our hook? You want to lose a fish in a hurry. That will oftentimes keep that hook from penetrating their mouth to the barb. That's probably what cost us on that one. I'm gonna go ahead and put that bait back down there. I mean, it's still bleeding right there. It still looks okay. That side's kind of blanched out. Let's just switch it out then. This side looked okay. I saw the other side and I'm like, well, that one don't look as good on the other side. I needed to get my hands wet again. Yeah, we can't really turn around and go the other way back through the fish that we had caught. Not that we really caught anything today that's worth making a second trip through, but if we go the other direction, we're going to be going with the current, so we'll have a hard time maintaining. Well, it'd be impossible to maintain the slow speed with the currents probably moving over 1/2 mile an hour in itself. So to keep the speed we're going, we got to be basically moving against the current. Well, folks, I almost had us another one. That was your fish too we was gonna reel in. Since y'all lost your fish there, we're gonna skip your turn. It's back to me. It's my turn to catch the next one. Y'all had your chance. You blew it. Let out some line on that while I get my hands good and cold again. Push my cutting board off. One thing about it, no more bait than we've used today. I'll have plenty for tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I ain't seen enough out of this spot here today to give me much confidence. Definitely don't want to come back here. I got plenty more spots with 3 and 4 fish on it like this place. I don't really know what to do or where to go tomorrow even. I'll stumble into them eventually though. I'll get back on by it. It always happens to like that. You just got to put some time in. Time on the water is the great equalizer. Oh, don't let me forget to turn that bell over here in a minute. We let out some more line. Don't need out a lot of line. I've come to this conclusion too. And, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt. Everybody's got their own opinions on it. And, well, opinions is what it is. Nobody has scientific proof or fact. But as far as how much line you should have behind you when you're pulling baits along, seems to be pretty much a consensus amongst cat fishermen who fish out of boats that you want a lot of line out behind you. And most of those guys that drag baits with planer boards will tell you that their best fish typically come on the planer boards that are farthest away from the boat. And they claim that fish get scared. The boat goes over the top of them, they get spooked, they swim out to the sides to get away from the boat, and then a couple minutes later, here comes those baits on the planer boards that are farthest away, pulling by those fish, and they catch them. And I don't necessarily think that they're wrong. I think when they're fishing out of these big 20 foot, 22 foot, some of them longer than that, aluminum boats, they probably do spook a lot of fish. I mean, aluminum boats are loud. Just the water just chopping against the side of the hull, it's loud. And that sound goes down through the water. And you've got this huge boat going over the top of these fish, putting off a huge shadow. I could see those fish getting spooked in those situations. So the longer the line they let out, understandably, the better they do. But with kayaks, I just haven't found it to be necessary because, first off, kayaks are much quieter. The water splashing against plastic is significantly quieter than slapping against aluminum. In the kayak, I'm sitting down the whole time. Like, I'm not up walking around like people are in their aluminum boats. So those footsteps hitting the aluminum floors, sending all that sound out. Don't have that in the kayak. Also, the kayaks are smaller. So when I drift over the top of fish, I look like a log. I mean, they see things this size float down the river on the regular, so it's nothing abnormal to them. So I don't think I spook fish like somebody in an aluminum boat would. And because of that, I don't feel like you necessarily need to let out a lot of line, and I don't necessarily feel like you need to use planer boards. Now, there are situations where planer boards are obviously effective. I mean, if you're fishing in the back of a creek channel, fish could be spread out anywhere in that creek. The more water you can cover, the better you're going to be. If you're fishing up on a flat, fish are roaming around on that flat chasing bait that could be anywhere. Well, planer boards help you in that situation. But like we're out here doing today, where we're working along the edge of that channel there, right on the edge of the ledge, most of our bites have been on this rod on the left, which is right on the edge of it there. So, if we're running boards farther on out on each side, maybe we get more bites, but most likely I would expect the fish that we're going to get today, and especially if we were to come across better quality fish, I would expect them to be on that contour, right on the edge. So, I don't know that's... Bottom line, what I was trying to explain as far as dragging baits in a kayak versus a boat, I don't think it's apples to apples. I think we can, in a kayak, I think we can get by running shorter lines because of the platform that we're in. Some people probably disagree with me on that, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, when I have run planer boards in the past, I haven't noticed difference of getting better quality fish farthest away from the kayak. My best fish dragging have been right off the back of the kayak. Y'all bear with me, man. I gotta bust out my handkerchief again. I'm trying not to be rude and blow my nose, but I got snot dripping out my nose. If y'all's out here fishing with me, I would not hesitate to blow my nose, but there's probably women, they're all dainty and everything, watching right now. One of you fellas out there that's still watching to this point in the video, there probably ain't but 3 of you, but one of you is probably making your wife watch with you. So I ain't going to subject her to that. She probably already sees you eating dinner at the dinner table in your underwear and stuff, so she deals with enough already. Oh, y'all. That rod's going down. That rod's going down, man. We got another one on the balloon. We got another one on. Oh, did he come off? My gosh, we had one on. We had another one on our daggone balloon rig. Dang, man. He didn't stay buttoned up. I'm gonna run that balloon back up that line one more. Daggone, man. I wanted to catch it. I heard something. I was like, what is that? And it's my dang. It was my rod back here. Dang, man. But you know what? That's another. We didn't catch him. It don't count. But it's encouraging to me to know that that's 2 bites. I had I had really no expectations today with this rig. You know, I was like, well, we're either going to get bit or we're not. But if it was warmer water, if there was more fish up in the water column, I would have much higher expectations. And the fact that we've had a couple bites now makes me believe that as we do get into some warmer water in the spring, that I may be able to bust some fish on this. I watch, there's a show on YouTube, a channel on YouTube, you know what I'm trying to say. And I'd give the guy credit, now I can't remember the damn name of the channel. I'm subscribed to so few channels, like I see their stuff pop up, I don't even have to know who they are, because I know based on the thumbnails and stuff who they are. What is the name of that show? Crappie something, Crappie Connection maybe? There's a guy, his name's Brad Chappell. That's his name. But he's a guide, a crappie guide out in, I think he fishes in Mississippi maybe, or Missouri, maybe Oklahoma. He's somewhere out west of me. Anyway, he does a really good show. He puts on a really good live stream. He does a lot of interviews with other crappie fishermen and stuff. And he's really good. He's a really good speaker and really good at teaching, explaining stuff. Look at all this bait right here. That's a fish above that school. Here's another fish above that school. Getting into some stuff here now. I kind of want to throw with that one. To be continued on the story. Look at that. I go to get the jig out. I lose sight of that fish. Let me see if I can spin the transducer around and see. Where'd he go? Oh, he's out to the left. I'll cross my line if I gotta throw with that one. Dang. We've got on some more bait here. There's a little shallow area. I don't know if that's a creek or what back up in here, and we're right out from that, and we've run into some thicker bait. But anyway, this guy Brad Chappell, like I say, I really enjoy his stuff, and I'm not a crappie fisherman, but I can listen to somebody talk about fishing if they're a good speaker and good at communicating and teaching and stuff, and this guy's really good at it. So anyway, I had heard one of his interviews, and I can't remember how the question was worded, but it was something like bycatches. Like when they're out there, he does a lot of long lining for crappie, long line trolling. That was kind of his thing, and he's got a real nice setup with how he doesn't pull planer boards, but he has various length rods. Look, oh my gosh, I think this thing's behind us is getting hit again. Look at our balloon back there. Look at our balloon bouncing around. Look at it back there. It's bouncing around. Has something got it? Or something after it? I think he may have it, maybe. I hope y'all can see that. He ain't got it now. Something was going to town on that thing. I don't know what it was. Obviously not big enough. They may be trying to tear the cut bait off that jig, maybe. That may be what they're trying to do. Yeah, I don't know if I had the camera where you could see that balloon, but it was just barely going under the surface. These fish ain't ever gonna let me get out my story, but anyway. So this Brad Chappell guy, he does a lot of long lining, trolling for crappie, and he don't use planer board. Look at this fish right here. Let me throw it this one. To be continued on the story here. I can't cast at these fish and tell stories. We had some marks here to be throwing at. Yeah, I butchered that. I want to try to get that one there that's close to the bottom. You see him out there about the 10-foot mark? He's right off bottom. Oh, he's swimming now. He's moving on. I ain't going to get to him. He's right there. My jig, I'm trying to... Well, my jig's about to hit him. Do you see it? My jig's right there. Well, I'm right there by him with that jig. That's where it's under us and behind us now, but I got fairly close to him. Couldn't get him to eat though. I suck at this, y'all. I try hard, but I suck at it. Let's just see what else is around here a second. Let's throw out there and see if we can work down to those fish maybe. We got that one getting hit now too. Okay, okay. Oh, that one's going down. That one's going down. Oh man, I'd hit that jig pretty close. Hold on. I'd hit that jig pretty close to that fish on the screen. We got to pick up on this. Can't focus on the one on the screen because we got this one going down. This feels like a better fish right here. This one feels a little better. Again, we fighting the current and we're pulling against it here, but this one feels like the best one so far. Where are we at here? We're over the 3-hour mark. None of you are still watching by now. This is the best fish yet, and y'all ain't gonna see it. So ain't nobody left. It's like if you catch a fish on video and nobody watches the video, did you really catch the fish? I think this is probably going to be the best one of the day. He may surprise me. Yeah, it's tough to get a gauge on how big a fish is when you're going into the current like this, but it does feel a little better. On the chunk too. Come on up here, fish. Let's show yourself. He says he'll show himself on his own time. He don't work for me, buddy. He'll clock in when he's good and ready. Come on up here, fish. I still ain't got to look at him. Yeah, that's the best one of the day so far. That's a fun sizer. Nice. Nice, y'all. I'll take that. Let's do this. Let's get our jig rod out of the way here. Let's get our glove. My hands is good and dry. We need to get them wet again. At least this one here is worth getting your hands wet over right here. This is definitely the biggest of the day. We've had an upgrade here. We've had more bites. At least fish messing with our bait, I feel like, since we slowed down. I made a mistake not adjusting my speed sooner. We've probably cost ourselves some fish today by moving too fast. That right, fish? We might have got some of your kinfolk if we had slowed down sooner. That's my mistake. Let's set y'all up here. Y'all sit in the front seat. Y'all been riding in my lap here, but now this fish wants his turn. He wants to tell Santa Claus what he wants for Christmas. You done missed Christmas by a month, fish. We're into January. You got a ways to go. Catfish Christmas is different, he says. Nice fun sizer. I knew when I picked up on him, I'm like, he's a little bigger than the other ones. Nice, man. All right. This is more what I want to catch today, y'all. This size right here and bigger makes for a good day. All right. What do you say? You want to go home, fish? Well, he wasn't trying to leave today anyhow. Get out of here. There he goes. He gone. Nice, y'all. Been a long wait for that fish, but we got him. On a chunk. We'll stick another one down there. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna leave the gut pocket intact. Don't seem to be. What's going on here with this line? What have I done here? I'll fool with that in a minute. I think we've got under my, I think that line's caught my skeg, I think, but yeah, y'all, I think I made a mistake. We should have adjusted the speed sooner. I feel like we've gotten, even the fish that have nipped up through here, we were getting, our baits are getting more attention when we've slowed down. But it don't seem to be necessarily the size of the bait, because they've ate the head bait. That was the larger chunk with the gut pocket intact. But I think the speeds maybe got us. But anyway, let me speed up my mouth here as we cut another bait. Get this in here. I'd put that part of it on there to begin with today. You know, colder water temperatures, typically, it is a good idea to go slower. Half a mile an hour is usually a good starting speed, but I should have adjusted. You know, we would catch a fish, we'd move along, we'd get another one there, and we were getting bit just enough to keep me from making changes, you know, and I goofed up. Y'all have to forgive me. Hell, if y'all should have said something. Y'all been out here with me for the last 3 hours. You could have said, hey Justin, why don't we just move a little slower for a little while and see what happens. None of you spoke up and said a damn thing. Everybody's a backseat driver. Everybody's a Monday morning quarterback. Nobody says anything in real time. All right, let's get our cutting board washed off. Let me dry my hands. We're going to get our other line out here. I think when we kind of turned around this bend, our skeg, or maybe when that fish spun us, possibly, that line here got up under my skeg, which again is permanently down because I can't adjust it. There we go. There we go. We're good. Okay. You see, we've drifted off this ledge here too. I got to get farther we're getting out away from that ledge, the less bait we're seeing. We were seeing them real good there for a minute. Yeah, I shine that transducer the other way. You can kind of see more of them over there. While we're getting repositioned here, anyway, like I was trying to say before these fish kept interrupting our stories. So this Brad Chappell guy, crappie fisherman, does a lot of trolling. Doesn't use planer boards, but he uses longer rods. He'll use 12 foot, 14 foot, 16 foot rods. So he casts his bait off the boat there in the sides and stuff, and those longer rods are running baits farther out, you know. So he's got a nice spread, even though he's not having to pull boards, what I'm trying to say. But anyway, he's kind of an expert in the long line trolling. He's won a lot of tournaments. He's a guide out there, had a lot of success. He's well known for long line trolling and crappie. And somebody had asked a question, something along the lines of bycatches. Like, what do you catch when you're out there crappie fishing? What is a common bycatch that you just, a fish you're not targeting but you catch by accident? And his response was catfish. He catches a lot of catfish while he's trolling jigs for crappie. And so that is kind of one of those things that, again, prompted me with our fancy rig here under the balloon. It's like, okay, well, if crappie fishermen are pulling these jigs along for crappie and they're busting catfish with them, well, why don't I try to target the catfish with just a little bit larger profile jigs and baits and stuff? And, you know, who knows if we'll get them or not. But anyway, that's kind of what, one of those things that prompted me, because watching his YouTube program there, which again, I'd shout him out, but hell, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's maybe Crappie Connection, maybe. I think maybe. But he's a real good, and you know, I ain't a crappie fisherman, but I'll listen to his shows because he's a good interviewer with the people that he brings on the show and talks with and stuff. And that's you know, for me, as far as like we talked about earlier, keeping attention spans, if somebody is very good at what they do but can't communicate well, I'm going to lose attention with them. But you get somebody that's good at what they do and they can communicate well, I'll sit there, I'll listen to everything they got to say. And that's how I kind of am with that Brad Chappell guy. You know, he's so good at communicating, I'll sit there and listen, even though I'm not, you know, really into crappie fishing all that much. I can sit there and listen to him talk about it because he's, well, y'all forgot to tell me to get that dang, boy, we got a bunch of line out on that, and y'all done forgot to tell me to flip that bail over. But anyway, yeah, so I like listening to him. I watch some of his stuff. I don't do a lot of fishing. I mean, I obviously make a lot of fishing videos for YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of fishing videos on YouTube. I'm not that into. I spend so much time with my own stuff. Like my edited videos, I have to watch them. These unedited videos, I don't watch them. I ain't got time to sit there and watch this crap. I cut off the beginning and the end there from when I turn the camera on to when I start talking. That's the only editing done on these type of trips, and put them up. But like a normal edited video, I have to watch it back when I'm done editing to make sure I took out all the parts that were supposed to be edited out. And you'd be surprised how many times I've left stuff in and caught it on watching it back. But when I'm done watching those videos back, the last thing I want to do is go watch more fishing videos after that. So I don't watch a lot of fishing stuff, but that Brad Chappell guy, he is one that I will watch semi-regularly. I hate that I can't remember the name of his channel specifically, because I know somebody's going to ask me about it. I would like to fish with him at some point. If I'm ever out there, I'll probably book a trip with him, just to pick his brain a little more. I mean, he does a lot of live scoping too, and it'd be interesting to see. I'd like to ask him the question, since he catches so many catfish by accident, while he's trolling for crappie, I'd like to just ask him, like, if you were going to specifically try to catch a catfish, instead of doing it by accident with them jigs, what would you do different? Would you change anything with your setup? Certain colors, speeds, depths? You know, I'd like to ask him some questions. So I probably will. If I'm ever out that way, probably book a trip with him. I don't really enjoy trolling, long line trolling for crappie though. That's probably, it's kind of like planer board fishing for catfish, it's my least favorite way to catch catfish. Same way with crappie. When you're long line trolling for them, when you hook a crappie, crappie don't fight very long. Like when those guys are trolling, the rod gets hit, they crank down the fish comes up the surface, and then they're just reeling the fish, just scooting it across the surface. Like, you know, like that's, I don't know. It's not as much fun to me as like throwing into a brush pile and pulling fish out, where you get to feel the fight of them a little more. But to each their own, you know. I mean, tomato. If it's your thing, then you do it. Who the hell am I to tell you what's fun and what ain't? It's up to each individual person. There's a lot of people that enjoy planer board fishing for catfish. You know, my friend Ryan Boards, he loves planer board fishing. He can't stand suspend baits. Like he don't want to anchor down. To me, I can anchor on a spot all day. I can't do this type of video, anchor down on the spot, because we'd have too much downtime between fish. But I mean, I can do it, personally do it. But somebody like him, he's bored out of his mind, just can't stand it. And I'm the same way, just an opposite with the whole planer board deal. So that's really the most important thing with fishing, is figuring out your style. Like, what do you like to do? What's fun for you? Because you got to have fun. You got to, number one thing you got to have when you're fishing, you got to be confident. You got to have confidence in what you're doing is going to get you bites. Second thing you got to have is enjoyment. You got to enjoy what you're doing. That's what's going to make you want to go, and having fun in the process of doing what you're doing. Everybody loves the results, right? Everybody loves catching fish. That's fun. But do you enjoy the process of catching fish? You know, like I like catching bass. Do I want to go throw a crankbait all day? Heck no, I don't, because I don't enjoy throwing a crankbait. So, you know, it's best to find something. Like, I can go out and I can throw the gulp. I can throw it all day. I like catching fish on the gulp. I like the reward, but also just like the process of going out and throwing that jig along all these trees and docks and everything. You know, so I think if you can find something that you like, you're going to do it more. And the more you do it, the more you're going to get good at it. The better you get at it, the more fish you're going to catch. And it just builds on it. You can do a better technique, but if you don't like it, you're less likely to stick with it, and you're going to do it less often, and therefore you're probably going to catch less fish on it, even though that particular technique may work better on that body of water. So, and you know, you see too, it's hard to say one thing's better than another. I mean, sure, on a given day, maybe one technique or one bait outproduces something else, but you look at these bass tournaments, you take the top 5, top 10 people that win these bass tournaments, every one of them's throwing a different bait on a different section of the lake, different depth. They're all catching fish. But where they were at, the thing they were doing, they were getting the bite. Same thing in the cat. You watch these catfishing tournaments. King Cat's got a YouTube channel, and they do some stuff there on the YouTube, and I think a TV channel too. And you watch some of those episodes, and you look at the top 3, top 5 fishermen. One of them might be anchored, one of them might be bumping, one of them might be pulling planer boards. They're all catching fish. You know, it's just, are you at where the fish are at? If you're where the fish are at, you're probably going to catch them. If you got a bait they're willing to eat in front of their face, regardless of technique, you're probably going to have a chance at catching them. If you don't, you can be doing the right technique, but if there ain't no fish there, you can't catch what ain't there. I'm not real impressed with the numbers of fish we caught today, although I thought it was most likely going to be a day like today. But I do feel like we're on to something here with the speed. We slowed our speed down. We got our best fish of the day. So I'll build on this tomorrow. Take what I've done out here today. Tomorrow I'll probably, if I drag more tomorrow, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet or where I'm going to go, but if I do, I know I'll definitely, instead of starting at 0.5 tomorrow, I'll start at 0.3. If I do drag tomorrow, you better believe I'll have that balloon rig there pulling along. I'm going to get another fish on that thing. May not today, but I'm going to catch another one on it. In theory, you could run those rigs, those jigs and flies, at multiple depths at the same time. Because here in Tennessee, we're allowed 3 hooks per rod. So, you know, you could space them jigs out, make them longer distances apart, set your balloon at different depths, and run multiple rods, and you could cover a variety of depths down through there. All in the upper part of the water column, of course. You're not going to run them on bottom, but there's some ways to be versatile in that. Now, will you get anything of quality on them? I don't know. You know, last year when I was doing the live scope jigging and stuff, I may throw it there right there. Well, he's behind us now. He's behind us now there. This 0 mark is where we're at, and this is, so he's about 5 foot behind us there. But last year when I got on that live scope bite, it was fun. I had a good time doing it. But it was mostly small fish that I caught. I just never got on a big fish doing it. Well, I take that back. I got one good one, but it was on a crappie jig. The biggest fish I caught live scoping last year. I hooked on my ultralight and 2-pound line because I thought I was throwing a dang crappie. Wasn't until after I hooked it I realized, oh, that ain't a crappie. But most of them were dink size. Just don't see a lot of big catfish up, even just throughout my normal fishing. When I've been suspending on baits and, you know, anchor down but have the live scope on, I don't see a lot of big fish up in the water column. But we never have a thermocline here either. I mean, rarely. I shouldn't say never. We rarely have a thermocline here. Even the hot summer months, we usually have enough water flow going through to prevent a thermocline. But if I fished lakes and reservoirs that didn't have the flow we have here, maybe things would be different. I might see more up higher in the column. But, you know, we slowed down, and I thought we slowed down. We had them nips, and then we caught that bigger fish there, and I thought, man, we've solved the riddle today. And now we've went a spell here and It feels like it's been a little while anyway without a bite. Let's throw at this one here that's about, he's too far out there for me to hit, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Barely see my jig. I've lost sight of him. He was somewhere in there. See my jig. It's swinging back to me. I lost sight of him. What time is it getting to be, y'all? I do have some plans this evening. Got to go throw the rock tonight. Got to go do some bowling, y'all. I ain't very good at it, but I try hard. I did bowl a 190 the last time I played. I like to blame the balls because I'm left-handed. And you go to these bowling alleys and all the balls are drilled for right-handed people. So I'm at a disadvantage. I used to have a bowling ball of my own that was drilled for a left-hander. But I think I gave it away or sold it. I had taken bowling as a PE class in college. And so I'd got a bowling ball after that. Used to have my own bowling shoes too. I may still have the bowling shoes. They may be in a closet maybe. But I feel kind of weird carrying my own bowling shoes into bowling alley now. I don't want to be that guy, you know. Of course, I also don't like wearing other people's shoes, so it's like, do you want to be that guy that carries his own bowling shoes in, or you want to put your foot in a bowling shoe? It's probably got toe jam and who knows what else in there. This ain't a very big mark right here, but I'm gonna try it. I missed him. Missed him by a country mile. He ain't much, about the same size as my jig there, so probably ain't something we wanted to catch anyhow. We're veering off. I need to be paying attention to where my little boat icon is on the ledge here. We're veering way off. I didn't even notice. Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this crap up soon anyway, because I got a pretty good haul to get back to the launch. Got to go home and shower before I go throw the rock tonight. You know, one of the most underrated, speaking of bowling, the most underrated acting performances is Bill Murray in Kingpin when he was Big Earn McCracken. I mean, that guy, Big Earn McCracken, should have had his own movie. They could have made a sitcom out of Big Earn McCracken, and I would have watched it. I ain't seen that movie Kingpin in forever, but it was a good one. Had Woody Harrelson in it too. Another very underrated actor. Here's what I'm thinking, y'all. I've done lost y'all's attention anyway, because we're almost 4 hours into this. I think I'm gonna troll up here. So we got this creek right, or pocket. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a creek or a pocket. but we're out here in front of it now. I'm gonna troll up here just past it where my lines will be, just past this area. And then we'll probably wrap it up after that, and I'll go home, share, and go throw the rock tonight. I'm gonna dominate tonight. I feel like I got a 195 in me tonight. I feel like that's what I'm thinking. 195. I might even throw 3 strikes in a row, get me a turkey on the scoreboard. There's a fish right there. I got my jig. I missed him. I'm just going to leave it down there, and we're going to troll into him maybe as we go by. I've lost sight of my jig, but I was on the right. Oh, there it is. There's my jig. Let me try it again. He's just sitting there. He's begging for it. That fish is just begging to have this jig. Now can I get back down to him again though? Well, I'm on a line there for him, folks. I put it on him where he was. Can't see him or my jig now. They're behind me. Again, the current's taking this jig. We're moving into it. Good effort. Self high five. Not seeing. There's still some bait down there. We're not seeing as much now, though. It's kind of just been is thick in some places on this ledge, and other places not so much. We got another fish coming through. We're about to watch this right here. Watch this. I just put it right in front of him. Oh, he swam under it too. He just kept going. He wouldn't even acknowledge me. It's like a pretty girl in college. Just won't even give me the time of day, man. That fish is rude. Won't even acknowledge my existence. I don't know why fish got to be like that. Yeah, we'll have to wrap it up soon. I got a pretty good haul to get back to the car. Well, something was over there. Something come up. Fish coming up and give us the bird. I'll tell you this though, it's good to get back out on the water. Better now that sun's out. Makes it feel a little warmer, but boy, it's been a cold winter here in East Tennessee so far. We're due to have a good spring. Person gets trapped in their house for a polar vortex. This karma says we ought to have a good spring once it finally does warm up. I wish I could have got us some more fish today, though. I'd like to. I thought today might go like it did, but I had hoped for better. At least we got one decent one. In addition to the other bites, we got that balloon rig eat. I got to sit out here and look good in my Kayak Catfish toboggan, available at catfishsumo.com. That was one good thing of the polar vortex. I was able to do some little Instagram videos and try to help Daniel sell some toboggans. Went out there and put Daphne in the video. I told Daphne I may have a survival situation. If I couldn't make it back to the grocery store, I may have to eat the dog, you know. Desperate times. Luckily for her, though, I fought off starvation by making the trip to Aldi. I'm a fan of Aldi now. I'm gonna keep going to that grocery store. Oh, we're getting another one right here. Right here. We are getting another fish, by gosh. All right, another one on the chunk. This fish was coming at me. I had to catch up with him there. All right, another bite, man. Like I said, you do this enough, you're going to get bit. You just got to cover the water. Put your baits where the fish should be. Do it long enough, you get some bites. It's hard to go. It's hard to do this technique and get skunked if you just put enough time into it. I mean, you may have a day like today where you don't get a lot of fish, maybe don't get a lot of good quality, but it's hard to get completely skunked doing this. If I'm gonna get skunked, it's gonna be a day where I'm anchor fishing. And I'm putting time into spots. Maybe I'm in the right spot and just the wrong time. Or maybe I'm in the wrong spot. You know, that's typically when I'm gonna get skunked. We've ground out a bite today. Just a grinding, like a girl on the pole at the gentleman's club. Grinding away. It's another one of them fish that don't want to come up. He don't want to come up here and see you people. He's heard you got bad breath and he don't want to come up here and see you face to face. We'll be getting close now. He's coming up now. He's behind us, but he's coming up to the surface. Y'all looking right in the sun. That sun's popped out and gonna blind us now. Figures it's about time to leave and that sun's finally gonna come out. Warm up a little bit now that it's time to go home. That's another good quality one. Definitely better quality. Man, where's these fish? Where you been today, fish? Let me get this jig pole out of the way again. Well, that's two fish, better quality fish. Both on the chunk. Both a little farther out to the right of the ledge. Slower speed though, got both of the better quality fish. I still, in my gut, I think we started out going too quickly and I just failed to adapt. I should have changed it up. Should have changed it up sooner. But you know what? We got us another little butterball here. Another good quality fish. Give me that hook back. You stingy old thing. Give me it. There we go. Oh, I just put that hook right in my leg. Goodness gracious. Let's set y'all back up here. See if we can get a look at this fish there. There you go. Nice. He's probably comparable size to that last there, fun sizer. Nice, man. We're getting some better quality now. Nice. Don't know if it's just, you know, where we're at here, we're running into some better quality fish, or maybe we pulled by some better quality fish earlier and just pulled by them too quick and they just wasn't having it. I don't know. Either way though, we made the adjustments. We're getting rewarded for it. This fish right, you want to go bowling tonight with me, fish? This fish, he's got a 250 in him tonight. He'd beat me if he went. Get on out of here then. I ain't getting beat tonight. I go bowling. I want to win. My gosh. All right, folks. Nice. That's awesome, man. Makes me feel a little better. Ain't nothing worse than be ready to post this video and be like, man, do I want to subject people to a 3-4 hour video of me? But I feel better about it when we got some decent quality fish in it. So according to this, we're almost at the 4-hour mark. I think what I'll probably do, I'm gonna go a little further here. I think I'm gonna pull along, but I'll probably just wrap this video up here. Most of y'all are sick of watching this crap by now. But anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I'm just gonna fish a few more minutes. I'm gonna go right up here to the edge of this, get these baits pulled by this. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a creek or just a little cove or pocket, whatever. But I'm gonna pull just past it, and then I'm gonna pack up and head toward the house. So anyway, y'all, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed fishing with me today. I've enjoyed it a lot more since that sun peeked out behind the clouds and it warmed up a little bit. But either way, I mean, it's been a good day for me to get out here. I've been missing it, been jonesing for it, you know, even though I don't like people named Jones. But we grinded it out. We got us some bites. We got 2 decent quality fish, got a few more bites today. I think the speed thing has played a factor. I think tomorrow, if I drag, I don't know where I'm going to go tomorrow. But either way, if I do drag tomorrow, I'm going to start at the slower speeds. Start at like 0.3, and if that don't get me bit, then I can bump it up. I should have done it today. But I wanted to cover some distance. I mean, this is a big bend through here. So I wanted to try to cover some water on it. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20, man. You can sit here and have a conversation with yourself and second guess everything you done. But in the end, we caught some fish. That's the goal, catch a fish. So we got it done in the end. So we'll see if I can accomplish my other goal, bowling 195 tonight. Wish me luck on that. Get you some multivitamins, y'all. If you fast forwarded to this point in the video, get you some multivitamins. So anyway, y'all, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.